All right, so she cooks carrots.
I make Brussels sprouts.
Okay,
Phil is here. That's right. She's in the other room.
I made it in this
I
room.
know.
I ran down the hallway.
So, Madam Vice Chair, I heard from Chair Archuleta, and she is still with the city in their CDBG discussion. So, Lucinda, if you are okay, and Vice Chair, you're okay, she is suggesting that we go ahead and have you start the meeting. Madam Vice Chair. Yeah, Vice Chair Fowler, I still show you on mute if you're talking. Eric? Eric, can you hear me?
Yes, I have you. I've been trying to unmute. I don't believe Vice Chair Fowler's in front of her computer possibly.
Yeah, Vice Chair Fowler, I still show you on mute if you're talking.
I will head down the hall and try to help her out here.
Thank you. Lucinda, are you good with moving ahead once Lena gets on?
Jimmy, it's Lindsay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So most of the other folks are in the teams already for exec, waiting for us for the board to make the motion.
Okay.
And Linda's in the teams one. I just checked in. I've been checking in to make sure the supervisors are coming into this one and not the teams one, so we can do the action.
That makes a lot of sense. So we do. It looks like we have hopefully Supervisor Fowler and Supervisor Babbitt and Mr. Parks. We can at least get a quorum to start to go into executive session. And this is the chair here. Thank you, Lindsay.
Okay, thanks.
Hi,
Are we supposed to be in this or Teams? I'm very confused.
So, Mr. Babbitt, you're supposed to be in this because we need to make the motion to go into executive session.
Okay, thank you.
Eric, do you need that motion now? This is Supervisor Parks.
No, not quite yet. We're waiting, I believe, to make sure that Supervisor Fowler is here so we have quorum. So
I'm here, and
Okay.
it looks like our Liz is here also.
because we need to make the motion to go into executive.
I see Liz on as well.
Yeah, Eric, could you make sure that the chairwoman can speak, and we're ready to go.
So we have quorum. So
I'm here. And it
So-
looks like our Liz is here also.
because we need to make the motion to go into executive.
I see Liz on as well.
So
Let's go.
let's everyone stop for a second. So is anyone else getting the feedback of
Yeah, Eric,
conversation?
could you,
Okay. I think we have a
make sure
technical
that,
issue
the
here.
chairwoman could,
So I don't believe the chairwoman is on. I think that's Teresa turning her computer on.
Eric, she said she was on and she needed somebody to unmute her or let her in, or
I'm here, but I see Supervisor Archuleta also.
Okay, Supervisor Archuleta, you should be able to speak.
Hello?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, as long as you can hear me and see me, that's fine. I have a completely black screen, but that's fine. Because this is just for the purposes of going into executive session, and then we will all need to go into a Teams meeting. So I know that I heard Vice Chair Fowler, I heard Supervisor Babbitt, I heard Supervisor Parks. Supervisor Ryan, are you on?
He is not, ma'am.
Okay, so this is a meeting of the Board of Supervisors, and we are going to receive attorney advice. We need to do that in executive session. And Jimmy, will you read the exact item? What it says in terms of the executive session? I'm sorry, I have a black screen. So
No, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to do that. So for the executive session for this evening. Oh, I just have the regular language in front of me. I'm sorry. Bear with me a second here. I have the agenda, but I don't have the, here we go. I've got it now. Discussion, discussion item 1A, discussion of purchase, sale, or lease of real property and contract negotiations. Board of Supervisors may convene an executive session pursuant to ARS 38431.03A7 and A4 to discuss or consult with designated representatives of the public body in order to consider its position and instruct its representatives regarding negotiations for the purchase, sale, or lease of real property, and to instruct its attorneys regarding the board's position on contracts that are subject to negotiations.
okay, great. So is there a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay, look, there was a motion by Vice Chair Fowler, seconded by Supervisor Babbitt. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none opposed, we are going to go into executive session. Hold on 1 minute. We will get some instruction. Of course, limited instruction, but here we go. Eric?
Yep, Madam Chair, I'm happy to give that to you, everyone. You, on your calendar, have an invitation from Lindsay for a Microsoft Teams meeting for executive session. So please leave this meeting and go over to the Teams meeting. For the public, we will keep this meeting active and on recess, and the board will return when finished with the executive session.
Okay, thank you. And it'll be on or approximately around 6 p.m. Thank you so much.
Okay, there we go. I guess I need to shut that out.
Air, transfer air and how long it stays in the air.
Be on Zoom.
Well, good evening. This is a meeting of the Coconino County Board of Supervisors. I want to welcome you to our meeting. And I think before I'll call this meeting to order, it was called to order earlier at 5 o'clock, and then the board went into executive session. But let me just make sure that we have the members of the board that plan to be present at the meeting today. So we'll start out first. Vice Chair Fowler.
I'm here, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Art Babbitt, District 1.
Present, thanks.
Okay. Supervisor Matt Ryan, District 3. Okay, and I know that Supervisor Ryan was not feeling well. It's quite possible he may join us later this evening. And then Supervisor Parks, District 4.
Present, Madam Chair.
Okay, great, thank you. And of course, the Vice Chair represents District 5 and I represent District 2. So we are all here. For all those who are able, would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. This is now, I'd like to have a moment for a call to the public. This is an opportunity for any member of the public who wishes to speak to the Board of Supervisors about an item that is not on our agenda. We will not be able to engage in a discussion with you, but we will be able to hear what you would like to share with us. And each member of the public is welcome to 5 minutes should they wish to address the board. Is there any member of the public who would like to do that? Let me tell you how you can do that. Mr. Peterson, who is our Public Affairs Director, he will give you instructions on how to be recognized. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you very much, Chairwoman Archuleta. If you are an attendee or a panelist in the meeting, I would encourage you to go to the bottom of your screen if you wish to address public comment and simply press the raise my hand button. That will send me the signal and then I'll give you permission to speak before the board. So if you wish to speak, just simply use the raise my hand function. Alternatively, if you're having any problems with that, just hit the chat button and send a chat saying your name so that we know who to elevate up to be able to speak. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak? If you would please follow those instructions and we will recognize you. Okay, seeing no one, then I will close the public call to the public and we will go on to a proclamation that we are considering. So May 17th through the 23rd is National Public Works Week. And we have an amazing team at Public Works under the leadership of Director Lucinda Andriani. And so we're going to be considering this proclamation to celebrate and recognize this important week. And I'd like to turn it over to Director Andriani for some comments and to tell us about what you have planned.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Very pleased to bring this forward this evening. You know, as we spoke about earlier today, the Public Works team continues to step up, even in situations that aren't Public Works related. This isn't a flood, this isn't a fire, this isn't a road failure. This is a public health crisis, and you know, when it came time to set up the testing sites, you know, the team stepped forward and we've had people serving as managing traffic and supporting the setup and operation of these facilities so that the testing can take place. That's just one of many examples of times that this team has stepped up to deal with crises. Last summer with the museum fire and potential for major flooding. The team stepped up and mobilized and you know, placed barrier throughout, appropriately located throughout the neighborhoods, as well as, you know, hundreds of thousands of sandbags. Tremendous effort was made to make sure that the community was prepared and that we could mitigate the flooding that was expected. So over and over again, the team steps up. I'm extremely proud of every single member of this team. And I think we made a commitment to the taxpayers through Proposition 403. And we've made that commitment. We are on track with our investments and managing those important taxpayer assets, and proud to be able to continue that. Certainly there will be some challenges over the next few years because of the impact of COVID on revenues and other things, but we are focused on maintaining our basic road maintenance services, snow removal, and this dedicated team will continue to provide those services. This evening, we're taking a little different approach. We're utilizing the opportunity to have the availability of this technological and virtual meeting. And we have asked 3 members of our team to present parts of the proclamation this evening, Madam Chair. And with that, I will start. I will remind each of them that they'll need to unmute. If you go down to the bottom of your screen on Zoom, you'll be able to unmute and also put up your and turn on your camera as well. So the 3 other individuals are Russ Faulkner, who is our lead heavy equipment mechanic in our heavy equipment mechanics shop. The other member of our team is Anisha Tamiche, and Anisha works in our administrative services division. And the third person is well, actually there's 4, I'm sorry. The third person is Denisio Arasun, who is a construction inspector in our engineering team. And lastly is Roy Dry, who is one of our trades division supervisors in our road maintenance operation. So with that, I'm going to start the presentation of the proclamation. Whereas Public Works provides critical services to Coconino County that are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and
whereas Public Works is dedicated to the stewardship of public infrastructure, and
whereas Public Works values and actively promotes the stewardship through quality customer service, transparent communication, innovative leadership, and empowered, diverse, and dynamic team that reflects the values of the communities we serve. And whereas the qualified and dedicated Public Works team is always on the front lines, responding to the call to provide and support county services and solutions across our diverse landscapes, whether there is a natural disaster or public health emergency. And
whereas our public works tries to improve community connectivity, economic vitality, and enhance quality of life that benefits our current residents and future generations through year-round road and equipment maintenance, pavement preservation, engineering, and planning services, and capital improvement projects. And
whereas our Public Works Department is an accredited member of the National American Public Works Association, which has declared the third full week of May as a National Public Works Week. And this year will be recognized during the week of May 17th through the 23rd, 2020. And
therefore be it resolved that we do hereby recognize May 17th through May 23rd, 2020 as Public Works Week, and call upon all citizens and civic organizations to reflect upon and acknowledge the positive contributions that Public Works makes every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life in Coconino County. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, thank you, and thank you for our speakers participating. All five of you, including Lucinda. So thank you. I think inclusiveness and participation is wonderful, and I love just the diversity that we have in Coconino County and amongst our team members. That's really special. So does anybody have anything they'd like to add? Any of the speakers that read the proclamation? You're welcome to make comments if you'd like. All right, great. Lucinda, did you have anything to add about your team, about just this national recognition that is on an annual basis to recognize the hard work of team members in public works across the nation?
Well, thank you. Frankly, it's a little bittersweet this year because typically we're doing a modified Public Works Day. We're going to try to do something virtually, and obviously we had great plans for a equipment rodeo and a fun day to celebrate and recognize people. Life took its course, but the number one thing we know about this team is they are flexible and they are resilient, and that's proving once again to be the case. And but I am sad because I miss everyone so much. So for me, it's wonderful to see people's faces, and we've been doing weekly calls and communicating with the team, but it's certainly not the same as seeing everyone. So I miss my people a lot.
Yes, I'm sure you do. It's a great group, tight-knit group over there, very supportive of one. I found that the team is very supportive of one another and cares deeply for one another and everyone's well-being. And so, well, I do agree that this is a different way to celebrate a National Public Works Week, and it is different, but one thing that has not changed is the dedication and commitment of the Public Works team. They're there when we're sleeping, they're clearing out snow, they're there in emergencies. They are continuing to work out in the community, working on projects and roads. And so, they are very, very committed and a hardworking group of people. And so we appreciate that. And we celebrate you and recognize you. Any other members of the board that wish to say something? Fantastic. Well, I know I speak on the entire board's behalf.
Madam Chair.
Oh, certainly. Vice Chair Fowler, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to thank all of Public Works. They are an essential staff year-round. It doesn't matter, if when there's an emergency, they're there. And even when there's non-emergency, they ensure that our students get to school, ensure that we do go about our daily lives without interruption on these safe roads. So I just really want to thank them. It's really great when you're driving along and here you come upon one of them out on the road somewhere, and it just lights up your day, and it's just always a really good surprise. So I just want to thank each and every one of you, and you make great signs too. So thank you so much. I just think it's just the way you all operate and just take care of each other. I think it's really special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And for everyone else, you're welcome to stay and join us, the Public Works team members. You can stay and join us for the whole meeting, or you're welcome to leave at any time and enjoy your evening. Not that our meetings are not enjoyable. They are very enjoyable. They're riveting meetings. But again, it's your pleasure. So the next item is the Board of Supervisors consent agenda. And this is on the agenda if you're following with us. This starts with item number 3. And these items will be voted on in one motion unless the Board of Supervisors wish to separate an item out for individual consideration. We vote on these in one motion because these are items that we've either had work sessions on in the past or they are administrative in nature. So we have the agenda 3 through 13. Are there any members of the board that would like to consider any one of these items individually? Please say so now. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the Board of Supervisors consent agenda items 3 through 13?
So moved. This is Supervisor Babbitt.
Second, Supervisor Fowler.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Okay, hearing none opposed, this passes unanimously. Is there a motion to resolve as the Flood Control District Board of Directors?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, a motion by Supervisor Babbitt, seconded by Vice Chair Fowler. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye. Oops, I'm not opposed. This is Jim Parks.
Okay, thank you. So let me get, I do have to go back and make a correction in just a minute, but all in favor of the motion to resolve as the Flood Control District Board of Directors, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Okay, none opposed, passes unanimously. Okay, so what I failed to do is ask you to vote on the proclamation. We got so engaged in the discussion with the team members that we didn't vote on that. So if you don't mind, we will do that after the Flood Control District agenda, since we already resolved as the Flood Control District Board of Directors. The Flood Control District Directors is now considering the consent agenda for the Flood Control District. Are there any items that the directors wish to consider separately? These are items now 14 through 19. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the Flood Control District Board of Directors consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor Babbitt. Is there a second?
Second,
Excuse me, a second by
Second.
Director Fowler. Motion was made by Director Babbitt, seconded by Director Fowler. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none opposed, passes unanimously. Is there a motion to resolve as the Board of Supervisors?
So moved.
Second,
There's a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Please say nay. None opposed, passes unanimously. Let's go back now to item number 3, which is the proclamation celebrating and recognizing National Public Works Week from May 17th through the 23rd of this year, 2020. Is there a motion to approve this proclamation?
Move to approve the proclamation.
Second.
Motion made by Supervisor Babbitt, seconded by Supervisor Parks. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none opposed, passes unanimously. And again, with our thanks to the Public Works team. Okay, So now we're going to resolve as the Health District Board of Directors. Is there a motion to resolve as the Board of Directors of the Health District?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Supervisor Babbitt, seconded by Supervisor Parks. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none opposed, we are now the Health District Board of Directors. We have the consent agenda, which is items 20 through 22. Does any member of the Board of Directors wish to consider an item separately? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the Health District consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda for the Health District.
Second,
Okay, motion made by Director Babbitt, seconded by Director Fowler to approve the Health District consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none opposed, passes unanimously. Would you please, is there a motion to resolve as the Board of Supervisors?
So moved.
second,
It's been moved and seconded that we resolve as the Board of Supervisors. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none opposed, passes unanimously. We now need to move on to the Jail District consent agenda. Is there a motion to resolve as the Jail District Board of Directors?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Supervisor Babbitt, seconded by Supervisor Parks. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. Those opposed, please say nay. None opposed. We are now the Jail District Board of Directors. We have one item. Does any member of the board wish to ask a question about this item? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the Jail District consent agenda?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay, it's moved by Director Parks, seconded by Director Babbitt to approve the Jail District consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Hearing none opposed, passes unanimously. Is there a motion to resolve as the Board of Supervisors?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Parks, seconded by Supervisor Babbitt. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. None opposed, passes unanimously. We are now the Board of Supervisors. We will go into public hearings. We have two of those public hearings this evening. This is a public hearing and consideration and possible adoption of Ordinance 2020-04, approving a zone change from open space to general 10-acre minimum parcel size on 121 acres between Blue Ridge and Forest Lakes. The property is located on Forest Service Road 56 and is further identified as parcel numbers 403-21-014, 403-21-015, 403-21016, 403-21017, 403-21018, and the applicant is Forest Lakes Ranches of Mogollon Rim LLC. From Gilbert, Arizona, and the representative is Greg Davis from iPlan Consulting of Gilbert, Arizona. This is out of Community Development, and Jay Crystalman, the Director of Community Development, is with us to present this item. And we do welcome public participation at the public hearing. And Mr. Peterson will give us information on how to queue up when you would, if you would like to comment. And I'll go ahead and go to you, Eric, now, just to let the members of the public know how they would do that so they can be ready when it's time.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I appreciate it. For those folks, we are on item number 24. So while we're on that item, if you do wish to speak to item number 24, simply go to the bottom of your screen and press the raise my hand button, or please enter a chat. It will come to us on the panel and I can elevate you to let you speak when the chair calls on you. Please be aware, you may raise your hand now, but we won't go to you until the chairwoman calls on you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Jay, go
Madam
ahead.
Chair.
You're going to, yes, Supervisor Parks.
I need some clarification here. In the in the subject on this, it has 5 parcels listed, but over on page 11 of 28, it shows there are 6 parcels. The last one is 403-21019. Am I clear on that, or am I mistaken?
Okay, well, let's get some clarity from Director Crystalman, and then we will also get some clarity on the posting, and just make sure that that doesn't affect our posting and ability to consider this item. I wouldn't think so, but we'll see. Jay, do you want to clarify how many parcels?
Madam Chair, yes, thank you for the introduction, and Supervisor Parks, thank you for the question. What is written in the ordinance is correct with the 5 parcels. So it terminates at 18.
Okay.
And then if you're ready, I can share my screen and begin with the PowerPoint.
Okay. Well, why don't we do that? And then, of course, there'll be questions from the board along the way, I'm sure. But go ahead and start with your presentation, Jay.
Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you so much. Did it come up on the screen properly?
Jay, you just need to run your slideshow.
Right. We see it on the screen. Just needs to be the full screen.
There you go.
There. Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As the chair explained, this is a zone change from open space to G, which 10-acre minimum. The property owner is Forest Lake Ranches in Mogollon Rim, out of Gilbert, Arizona. The representative is Greg Davis. I do believe that Greg is calling in this evening, but would just be available for questions. The current zoning is a combination of open space and G general. The proposed zoning would then all be G. These properties were subject to some land swaps and some cleanup with the Forest Service currently, which is why there's a variety of zoning and parcels in here. The size is a total of just over 201 acres, with 121 of those acres to be rezoned because some of it is existing G. Again, zone change from open space to G with 5 parcels. And the 3 conditions recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is what that zoning map looks like. You can see it's kind of segmented from existing G with the majority of the interior of it is currently open space. There actually is a total of 8 parcels for this map, but only 5 are taking place for zoning this evening because the others already have their zoning entitlements. This is what the property looks like. On the right, that's Forest Service Road 56, which traverses the property from east to west. You can see it's heavily treed. And then the for sale sign over here actually looks identical to what the zoning map that we just were on looked like. The development proposal is, again, it's a total of 8 parcels, but only 5 of them need to go through the rezoning this evening, and they're each 40+ acres. There is a road easement improvements that meet the standards for the zoning ordinance, which is 42,000 pound weight capacity with a certain width that needs to be improved. They are proposing doing that within those easements. They are proposing CC&Rs with maintenance of those access easements, wildlife provisions, as well as fire-wise provisions for the development and weed mitigation. Are there any questions before I proceed?
Let me see, Jay, if there are any questions.
Thank you.
Are there any questions of Jay at this time? So Jay, I'll go and ask a question. So the parcels, it'll be an 8 parcel development. So each of the 8 parcels, I just want to understand this. Each of the 8 parcels will be 40 acres each?
Madam Chair, that's correct. They're actually just a tick over 40. They're between about almost 41 and a little over 41. 8 of them, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
This is what the development plan will look like. Now, the green easement that goes east to west there, that's the existing Forest Service Road 56. And then not the exterior red lines, but the interior red lines are the proposed new access easements, which are required to be built to the same standard to access the remainder of those parcels. So that's the configuration of the total of the 8 40+ acre parcels. And the screen's obscured a little bit where the subject property is, but you can still see the red square subject property in the very southern portion of our county. Now, here are the findings for the zone change, that they are consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan and the ordinance, that the change is in the interest of or will further public health, safety, comfort, convenience, and welfare, that the change will not adversely affect the established character of the surrounding neighborhood, nor be detrimental to adjacent properties. And the planning and zoning did recommend unanimous approval with the 3 conditions that are in the staff report through the ordinance 2020-04. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Supervisor Parks.
Yeah, Jay, I got a question about the map. I see that right in the middle of the map there is a square there that doesn't have a designation as a numbered ranch, and I assume that may be the parcel 403211019. Is that intended for future development? Is that going to be commercial parcel, or what is that one there?
Madam Chair and Supervisor Parks, it's a good question. That's not part of this subdivision. You can see that access roads go around it. That's not one of the 8 lots. There's no proposal for that section of property, and it's not commercial. It's G, just like the rest of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good catch, but that's not one of the 8 lots of this subdivision development plan.
Okay.
Mrs. Chairwoman?
Yes, go ahead.
Excuse me, folks. This is Greg Davis. I represent the applicant here. Just wanted to clarify Supervisor Parks' question. If we're talking about.
Davis, I'm sorry. Hold on just a second. So what I'd like to do, sir, the process is that that the staff will present, and we'll get the questions out from the board to ask the staff first, and then I will turn it over to you to give a presentation, and during that time you can answer any questions that you've heard during the discussion thus far, and then I will reserve time for the board to ask you questions directly as well. Okay, but first I would like to go ahead and let staff just finish out their presentations and questions from the board.
You bet. My apologies.
No, that's quite all right. No problem. Okay, so let me see if there are other questions from the board at this particular time for staff, for Jay, and then knowing we can always come back as well to get additional information from Jay. So any members of the board who wish to ask questions at this time? Okay, great. Jay, is there anything else you'd like to add at this time?
Madam Chair, members of the board, that concludes the presentation. We're happy to answer any questions that might come up.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And so this would be the time that I would call upon the applicant or the applicant's representative. And I understand that we do have the representative for the applicant, and it's Mr. Davis, and he is joining us by phone. And so, Mr. Davis, if you would like to proceed with your presentation, that would be great. And then the board will have the opportunity to ask you questions as well.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. My name, for the record, is Greg Davis. I'm representing Forest Lakes Ranches of Mogollon Rim LLC. If you need my address, it is 3317 South Higley Road in Gilbert, Arizona. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I was kind of looking forward to being up in the mountains of this for this meeting, but we'll make do here in the 100-degree valley. I don't have a formal presentation, but I do have a statement that I'd like to make, and then I'd be happy to answer Supervisor Park's question as well as any others that come up, if that's okay. And the statement basically is just to explain the reason, why we are here. My client had purchased this property with the intent to sell it to more permanent residents that would be able to make improvements, clean up the property, make it more fire-wise, but basically live the Code of the West lifestyle. And in doing so, they ran across this issue with the zoning that, for whatever reason, historically, this kind of backwards L shape had overlaid 5 of the parcels. And so we're really here just kind of to correct that. Right now, the property could really only be used for camping and more transient type of uses, which we don't think benefit long-term health and safety of the property or value. So we have worked with the county staff to come up with recommendations of conditions of approval that we're in agreement with. We feel would help protect the character of this area, the adjacent properties, as well as being within the Code of the West lifestyle. And so to answer Supervisor Park's question, I think he was referencing that kind of square or trapezoid in the middle of the property. That is actually part of Ranch 5. So it does connect to that. It's already split by that road, the Forest Service Road 56. So that's an existing condition, but it is part of parcel 403-21015. And as I mentioned, I'd be happy to answer any other questions for Supervisor Parks or any of the other supervisors. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We appreciate it. And so let me see if there are any other questions at this time. So Supervisor Parks or Supervisor Babbitt, Supervisor Fowler, any questions?
None for me, Madam Chair. Thanks, Supervisor Babbitt.
Okay, great. Any others? Okay, so Mr. Davis, it looks like there are no questions right now, but if you would just please stay on just in case we need to come back to you after the public hearing, that would be great if you just continue to stay on. So with that, I would like to go ahead and open this up for the public hearing. And if each member of the public who wishes to speak, if you would just please state your name and your place of residence for the record, that would be appreciated. And so at this particular time, let me ask if there's any member of the public who wishes to comment on this item. And again, the way you would indicate that is on the bottom of your screen. There is a raise your hand function. You can click on that and we will then call on you. The other option is you write in the chat that you wish to speak. Eric, do we have anybody that has indicated their desire to speak to this item?
Madam Chair, I do not see anyone at this time.
Okay. And I will, excuse me. Okay, I will close the public hearing, bring it back to the board, and again, ask the board if they have any questions or comments. And we will take that at this time. If not, then we would be prepared for a motion to either approve or deny this item. Any questions of the board? Okay, does any member of the board wish to proceed with a motion?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Supervisor Parks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'd like to make the motion. Let me get it before me.
Absolutely. Take your time.
I'd like to make the motion to approve ordinance 2020-04, approving a zone change from OS open space to G general 10-acre minimum parcel size for parcel numbers 403-21-014, 403-21-015, 403-21-016, 403-21-017.
Do this again? I don't know.
403-21-8 on 121 acres between Blue Ridge
Got an email.
Oh, hold on one second. Somebody's not muting, and so it's interfering with the motion. So if you would just check your computer very quickly or your phone and make sure you're on mute so that the board can hear the motion appropriately. Okay, go ahead, Supervisor Parks.
All right, I'll read it again.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I would like to make the motion to approve ordinance 2020-04, approving a zone change from OS open space to G general 10-acre minimum parcel size for parcel numbers 403-21-014, 403-21-015, 403-21-016, 403-21-017, and 403-21-018 on 121 acres between Blue Ridge and Forest Lakes.
Madam Chair, I'll second that motion with the just recognizing the findings for a zone change have been met.
Thank you very much. And now discussion. I agree that the findings have been met for this particular zone change. And we do have the motion and the second on the floor. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none opposed, this passes unanimously. And we wish you the best. Thank you, Mr. Davis, for joining us, and wish the applicant the best.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we are now going to go on to our second public hearing of the evening, and I will turn it over to Director Crystalman to introduce this item. We are on item number 25. This is also, this is a change of zoning regulations. And so go ahead, Jay, if you'd like to introduce the item for us to consider this evening.
Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you again, Jay Crystalman, Community Development. The public hearing this evening is with regards to Lake Powell View Townhomes. And it's a change of zoning regulations as well as a preliminary plat for a subdivision. It's interesting, the whole area of Greenhaven is currently a PC zone, and those zoning entitlements have been in place since the 80s. So the applicant is proposing modifying some of those standards, which we'll get into. The applicant is a 4.5 acre LLC out of Scottsdale. Representative is Mr. Tony Cullum with Cullum Law, and Guy Eklund is on the line with us this evening to discuss and answer questions. Again, the current zoning is planned community zone with RM20 standards. So that's multifamily standards is 20 units an acre maximum. Again, the applicant is proposing modifying those existing standards on a 4.59 acre parcel. Again, the request is to modify the standards for RM20 as well as the approval of a master development plan and preliminary subdivision plat for 88 lot townhome development. You can see there's Greenhaven. It does border all the way up to Utah. We'll zoom in. You can kind of see the blue triangle-ish piece there for the subject property. Zoom in of it here. It's the northwest side of Rainbow Drive, and that's where the proposed 4.5 acre site is. This is what the vegetation looks like on site. It's a beautiful desert there. This is looking to the northeast past a home adjacent to the parcel, and there's a view of the lake. Again, it's an 88-unit townhome development on individual lots. Amenities include playground and parking spaces for vehicles with length in case they're towing boats or RVs. And all of the drives, parking, and roadways will be private and with no public streets. This is what a rendering looks like. That's very nice looking, but unique for Coconino County. So it's going to be a very neat project when it's done. These are the proposed RM standards. I'd be happy to go through them individually if you'd like, but to summarize, they're predominantly just setting the lot dimensions and modifying the setbacks. And two of the more substantial modifications to the zoning standards are for the landscape plan. As we all know, water's in short supply with regards to irrigation on the desert arid landscaping. So they're proposing that type of plant coverage, as well as the removal of the covered parking requirement. So staff visited the site with the applicant and Supervisor Fowler at one time. There is some condominiums that are right down the road that do not have covered parking. So it would appear that the precedent had been set for the removal of covered parking. So those are the modified standards being requested. Here's what the development plan is going to look like on that 4.5 acre piece. It's too small to really see what the plant schedule looks like, but they're all arid plants, fitting of the area there. Now, the citizen participation plan was held February 13th, excuse me, the neighborhood meeting for the plan. 15 people attended. There were some concerns regarding outdoor lighting. However, the applicant is proposing to use fully shielded lights with a maximum of only 54% of their allowable lumen count. And they also, some of the concerns were expressed by the neighbors for the use of these townhomes as vacation rentals and the potential for flooding downstream. The attendees, however, did support the smaller, more affordable units. Are there any questions with regards to what I've gone over so far before I proceed?
So let me ask, are there any questions thus far? Okay, none at this time, Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Here are the findings for zone change. Same as we just went through with the previous hearing, that the change is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan and the ordinances, that the change is in the interest of or will further public health, safety, comfort, convenience, and welfare, and that the change will not adversely affect the established character of the surrounding neighborhood nor be detrimental to adjacent properties. We also have additional findings for the approval of the preliminary plat. And some of it's cut off, so I'll read it from my notes here. That the proposed subdivision conforms to the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan and its amendments. That the design of the proposed subdivision will not cause substantial environmental damage and will not present serious public health problems. Excuse me. That the site of the proposed subdivision is physically suitable for the proposed type and density of the development. That the proposed subdivision is consistent with provisions and intent of zoning regulations applicable to the property. That the proposed subdivision conforms to the improvement and design standards set forth in the zoning and subdivision ordinances. And the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission were unanimous with regards to the revised standards to the PC zone. And there are two motions that are required, one for the zone change and one for the approval of the subdivision plat. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it. Let me see if there are any questions from the board members at this time.
Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions of Jay?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Jay, this is Supervisor Fowler. When we made a site visit, they were talking about having this as a affordable housing part of, and that was a large part of the discussion. Is that still the case?
Madam Chair and Supervisor Fowler, the applicant has indicated that they're intending to keep that price point manageable, and I would defer to Guy Eklund with regards to what that will be.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Jay at this time?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Supervisor Parks.
I was wondering, kind of the same thing. It says over here in the citizens' participation that the attendees supported the smaller, more affordable units. Is this the smaller, more affordable units, or were there other considerations that were for larger units?
Madam Chair and Supervisor Parks, this entire development is the 88 units that look like that. They're 1,092 square feet. So the applicant's intent is to keep those the price point down on these.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And so, Jay, this is Chair Archuleta. Can you tell me, so before, what was the zoning that would be allowed on this?
Madam Chair, there are zoning entitlements for this type of development has existed since sometime in the 1980s when all of Greenhaven was zoned. So the applicant has their zoning entitlements to move forward with the townhome development, but they are proposing modifying the standards, which is actually what we're here for this evening, and including the approval of the subdivision plat. Does that answer your question adequately?
Yes, it does. It's very clear and very helpful. So the standards, in terms of the specific standards that are being modified, are the standards the ones, the 15 that you have listed, correct?
Madam Chair, yes, that's correct. In addition to the modification to the landscaping, because when this project was approved, the landscaping, and you've probably heard Supervisor Fowler mentioned this before, but our landscaping ordinance does not work in the greater Greenhaven area. So
does not what? I'm sorry, does not what?
It does not work in the greater Greenhaven area. Mm-hmm. And so the applicant is proposing to modify that, the plant count to meet the area that they're in. And then the other modification is to remove the requirement of covered parking. And as I mentioned before, the condominiums that are right down the street don't have covered parking. So for this type of development, that precedent has already been set.
Mm-hmm. I see. Great.
Thank you.
I appreciate you reiterating those points. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, if there are no questions, further questions at this time, we can always come back to Mr. Crystalman. Then we're going to turn it over to the applicant or the applicant's representative, and to be able to give a presentation and provide information for the board, and then the board will be able to ask questions as well. And so let's see, Guy, I think I did see you originally on the speakers list here. Are you still on the line? Will you be taking this next?
Madam Chairman, this is Tony Cullum.
Oh, yes. Well, hello. Hi, Tony. Mr. Cullum, welcome to the meeting. And so we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Tony Cullum, 14 East Dale here in downtown Flagstaff. We represent 4.5 Acre LLC. The principal is Mike Crowther. Mike Crowther lives in the neighborhood. He's also a local contractor and will be the contractor building this. He, not too long ago, built the high-end Amagori Resort less than a mile away from this property. And for those of you who have not seen the Amagori Resort, you need to. That's where the royalty from England stay when they come over. That's where Kim Kardashian rents the entire resort when she wants to throw a party. It is nice for Northern Arizona. So anyway, that's the contractor, Mike Crowther. And I'd like to thank a number of people for help putting this together. As you can tell, the zoning's already there, but making the standards work is really a big deal. And we'd like to thank Supervisor Lena Fowler for visiting us up there and actually coming to the site and giving us direction. Also, Jay Chrisselman, Jess McNeely, Bob Short. We've got some wonderful direction, and thank you very much, all of you. Also, we'd like to thank the Planning and Zoning Commission, who spent a number of hours going through this, and at the end of it gave us unanimous approval. As Supervisor Fowler was talking about, during the meetings, the goal that was reached was affordable priced housing to be marketed towards families and workers. And that was determined what the page area actually needed. And that's what we're looking at. The units were reduced down to 1,092 square feet each. They are nice looking Spanish designed units. There will be 88 townhomes built in fourplexes so that there is screened areas for each individual family, and it'll be constructed in 11 phases. Kind of interesting, on February 13, 2020, the neighborhood meeting was held up there on site at 5:30, and a number of the people from the area, approximately 15 of them, came over to talk about what was being proposed in the developments, and they had some good ideas, and most of them were incorporated in the plans and the ideas. But at the end of it, it turned out to be a buying fest, and most of them ended up making reservations to purchase the lots as they came up. So we're excited with what's going on. We've got all the local approvals, the HOAs, the CC&Rs, utilities, fire department, all the local approvals that are in the area. So thank you for having us here today. We appreciate it. I think this is a wonderful project. We'll answer any questions you have. And I think we'll all look forward to having an excellent project that many folks, including Lena Fowler, has had a hand in from day one. And we appreciate all of that. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Cullum. Any questions of Mr. Cullum at this time? Okay, I don't hear any questions at this. I don't hear any questions at this time, but if you will stay on after the public hearing, then there may be some questions when we get back to the board for discussion. So I am now going to open up this item for the public hearing and ask that any member of the public who wishes to speak to this item to please indicate by using the raise your hand function at the bottom of your screen and letting us know you wish to speak, or in the chat function, just write down that you wish to speak. And I'll give just a minute for folks to do that. Eric, do we have anybody who has indicated they wish to speak?
We have none at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Well, then I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the board to see if there are questions or if the board is prepared to make a motion.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Vice Chair Fowler?
Yes, thank you. I want to just thank the team that's put this plan together. It's well thought out, and they saw a need in the region for affordable housing, and just having to, and working with the community on this development from the very start. I think it's well thought out, and I just think that the findings are there to make the zone change and to move forward with the master plan on the development of this on this plan right now. So thank you. But it's really the discussions were about the land, the environment, and really taking into account the how it could be fit into that community at Greenhaven. So I think it's a great addition and much needed housing in the region.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I may, I would like to ask a question. So, Mr. Cullum, in terms of the public, the neighborhood meeting or the meeting with the community, so there was a question about lighting, or someone had some folks had mentioned lighting, and perhaps some concerns about the lighting. Were there any modifications made to address those concerns? And you might still be on mute.
You there? Can you hear me now, Madam Chairman?
Can hear you now. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that question. At the meeting, Your Honor, there were some good comments made, and there were some good comments made by staff after the meeting too. So the lighting was basically turned into shielded lighting, and it was reduced from 100% to 54%, Your Honor. So it basically made everyone happy that was at the meeting, and I think it made everyone on staff happy. And at the Planning and Zoning Commission, it basically got unanimous approval from them then also, and there was no opposition at the Planning and Zoning Commission either, Your Honor.
You're funny. You've been in the courtroom for too long. Thank you. Thanks, Tony. I appreciate it. I definitely do not want to be a judge. I'm good. I'm good with this, with what I am right now. So thanks so much. Well, I appreciate that, and appreciate you addressing the community's feedback. Okay, great. Well, thank you. Are there any other questions for either Mr. Kristelman or for Mr. Cullum? And Eric, you're trying to get my attention. Go ahead.
Sorry, ma'am, we do have one hand raised. I know we moved past the public hearing, but it just has been raised. So I don't know if you want to honor that or how you want to proceed.
Sure. So I did close the public hearing. Let me just ask, I would like to be able to listen to what the person has to say. Let me just ask Rose procedurally how I can do that. Rose, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Can you just give me some guidance on procedurally how I might be able to
I'm
speak?
fine. I think you can go ahead and essentially, in effect, reopen the public hearing. It would allow, what I would advise then is that if there are any additional comments as well, you may want to confirm again with the public that there are no further comments, or make sure that the invite is open to anyone else who may still want to make a comment, and then close it again. So that's fine. I think so long as it's done fairly in a way where anyone else who might have a comment as well would also have that opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I appreciate that. So I will reopen the public hearing to be able to hear from the member of the public and any other member of the public who wishes to comment on this item. And so do we have the question written, Mr. Peterson, or do we have the member of the public who's going to?
It's a raised hand, so I've just activated them to speak and unmuted. So Crow T should be able to speak. We'll need to unmute and then can join the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, Madam Supervisor, this is Mike Crowther. I am the developer and the owner of the contractor. Tony answered that question. I was not sure what he knew on the lighting, and there was another reason behind that, but it seems to be addressed. And so it was just on the lighting. I was going to give you a little more history on that for this area, but it sounds like everything's good at this time.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And since you are the applicant, appreciate you raising your hand to speak. And so thank you. I will call for the final time to see if there's any other member of the public who wishes to speak to this item. And I will give it about 30 seconds here just to make sure we don't miss anybody. Any member of the public who wishes to speak to this item, please indicate so now. I'm going to close the public hearing and bring this back to the Board of Supervisors. Board members, if there are no further questions, now would be the time to make a motion. Are there any further questions? Okay, then we will consider a motion on this item. And I know that this is in Vice Chair Fowler's district. So Vice Chair Fowler, do you wish to make the motion?
I would, Madam Chair. Thank you. I move that we approve. Is there proper wording? I'm trying to find the wording here.
It would be the adoption of the resolution and approval of the preliminary plat. If you wish, I could read the language.
If you would, please.
Okay, super. I do have it.
Lost it somewhere.
No problem. I have it right in front of me. So I certainly am pleased to be able to do that. And so is there a motion to approve this item, which is the adoption of Resolution 2020-28, approving a preliminary plat for a phased 88-lot townhome development, subject to modified RM20A standards in the planned community zone with a master development plan on 4.5 acre parcel in Greenhaven. And Supervisor Fowler, would you like to make that motion? Do you so move?
Here we go. Yes, I do. I would like to make that motion, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
Chair?
Yes, is there a second?
I would like to say I can make the findings for the zoning change for this this parcel, and I would like to second that motion.
Thank you. I just was going back just to see if it actually is a zone change. Jay, is this actually
Madam Chair, there are two motions, there are two actions we need to do, two actions. One for the master plan and one for the zone change.
Okay, so first we need to adopt the ordinance first, and
Yeah.
then adopt the resolution. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, that's correct.
Okay. So the motion, so we're going to adopt the ordinance first. Why don't you, Jay, why don't you assist us with that language? I have the resolution language in front, unless unless Vice Chair Feller, you have the ordinance language in front of you. And we apologize. This is beauty of technology and challenges of technology. So right now we are technologically challenged at this moment.
Madam Chair, no problems at all. We're learning as well. You are correct that the first action would be to approve the zoning, the modifications to the zoning, and then the second would be the resolution adopting the preliminary plat. The agenda is in my office. I can go grab it real quick, so I have that exact language.
Madam Chair.
That's okay. Go ahead, Supervisor.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion on the ordinance, and there's a two-part. So we'll take the first one is approving a motion to approve ordinance 2020-03, approving a change of zoning regulations to modify the existing RM20-A standards in the planned community zone.
Thank you. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Supervisor Babbitt, seconded by Supervisor Fowler. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, great. Any opposed, please indicate by saying nay. None opposed, so that passes unanimously. And now we need to go to the resolution.
Okay, Madam Chair, I happen to have that. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2020-28, approving the preliminary plat for the phased 88 lot townhouse development subject to modified RM-20A standards in the PC planned community zone with a master plan on a 4.59 acre parcel in Greenhaven.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that. And I just want to verify with Jay, Madam Chair, after that, that was the right resolution. I mean, that was the second piece was the correct language.
Madam Chair and Supervisor Babbitt, yes, that's correct. It was resolution 2020-028.
Great, thank you.
Thank you both.
Great. There's a motion by Vice Chair Fowler, seconded by Supervisor Babbitt to approve the resolution as noted. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please say nay. Hearing none opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Cullum, and good luck with the project.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for joining our meeting. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we are now going to go on to our next item. These are discussion items. We've actually completed our action items for tonight. We are on item number 27 for those who are following along. Hang on. Yes, following along in our agenda. Item number 27.
27, yes.
Presentation and discussion regarding work, service, and space imagined. And this is an update on County Service Center at our King Street building. And so I'm going to turn it over to you, County Manager Jane. And then I know that you have members of the team that will be assisting in this presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the board. So yes, this is item 27, which is a furthering the conversation that has previously been before the board. There's been some hiatus, but this is kind of a restart of the conversation, specifically regarding potential opportunities at our King Street campus. So I want to say thank you to Joanne Keene, to DCM Keene, and Facilities Management Director Stu Brown for continuing these conversations and for their presentation this evening to update the board on where we're at with potential opportunities at our King Street complex. So Madam Chair, if it's okay, I'll turn the time over to DCM Joanne Keene.
Yes,
Good
thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, members of the leadership team, and members of the public. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to kick off this item today. As many of you know, I rejoined the county about 8 weeks ago. It's gone by very quickly, and I've seen a lot of you virtually, but not in person. And I've been doing my best to get up to speed on several items, and the King Street project is one of those items. Before I introduce Sue Brown, our Director of Facilities, who is on camera, I'd like to just take an opportunity to thank all of the individuals who have been a part of this project to date. I know there's been a lot of work, and as County Manager Jane mentioned, there has been a bit of a hiatus, but there was a lot of work done prior to that time. And I know Sue will cover this, but I think what we have seen, you know, in the last couple of months is that there's a tremendous opportunity, you know, with the changes that we've seen with COVID-19 and the impact that that's had on our workforce and our space needs. And there's also some potential funding opportunities that were likely not there before. So I would just like to say that this Work, Service, and Space Reimagined project is really, truly that, and I look forward to this discussion. I know Sue will review it in more detail, but we moved forward quickly to release the RFQ, and she will go into details of that timeline. But just to really ensure that we were ready for funding opportunities that might come our way. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Sue Brown, who will give an update to the board on the project, and then we'll move into discussion. So Sue?
Thank you, Joanne. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appreciate your time this evening. We have a brief PowerPoint for you and hope to engage you in discussion about the steps that we have taken and would like to take as we move forward. What we'd like to talk about tonight is, first of all, talk about our statement of intent that we included in the RFQ in a new reality. And we added quite a bit of narrative to the first part of the RFQ, and it is about our pandemic response, how we have modified our operations quickly and efficiently to still provide service across the county, but in new ways. And we recognize that in that narrative so that we would spur our potential partners to be thinking about how they can help us in an effort to create a new reality sort of project. The same old things that we were thinking about prior are just not going to do, and we need to have a great relationship with our architectural partner to be able to move forward in a way that will meet the challenges of the future. We also have some notes on where we are today, some observances that we've had over these 2 months, which have been quite revolutionary in how we have completed our service so effectively, but in very different ways. We'll talk also about the issuance of the RFQ and what our schedule is likely to be, although it may be amended. And finally, we'll ask for your feedback, as we always do, on these steps that we've taken and your guidance on how you'd like to see things move in the future. This slide is actually meant to be very meaningful. We know what King Street looks like today, and it's a great building, but it is a very traditional building and has a traditional model and structure of service. We thought in our concept for the new King Street campus that we understood kind of where we wanted to go, but I think things have changed quite a bit. We certainly talk about it on a daily basis about how the work has changed, how the way we must provide service must change, and how the space itself must be modified as we move forward. The traditional outlook on space must change, because our outlook has changed on how we will occupy space, how we will use technology, and how we will engage with our citizens to make sure that they get the outcomes that they need. So the statement of intent in a new reality, we address this very directly in the RFQ, as I mentioned. We challenge our partners in architectural services to help us create a new type of space that is resilient, will help us to provide service in new ways, will engage the public in a much different way than our traditional service models may have done. It will help us to adapt that existing traditional building, and it will create a new design partnership to identify all of the opportunities for innovative service delivery. Things that we didn't imagine before suddenly become much more interesting and much easier to identify. We need the right mix of public spaces and employee workspace, and the right sort of engagement tools inside of our buildings and outside in the site as well. We need to focus primarily on the people that we serve and how to make sure that the services and how they receive the services, how they get them, works for them. We also need to focus on the people who provide the service. They're doing it now in a number of different ways, and we need to make sure that we capture all of the possibilities that exist today that maybe didn't exist. Did exist, but perhaps we didn't recognize about 6 weeks ago. And we also need to promote sustainability through the built space in terms of the site, in transportation, and how we integrate with the environment. This last 6 weeks have also been an incredible example of how we affect the environment in our everyday workday, and how we can change the way that we do that and make changes on our environment that way. And finally, the biggest point, we need to create a resilient and sustainable future. And we note all of this in our expectation of what we're looking for in a successful proposer for architectural services. We start out by recognizing some of the things we have already in our toolkit. And we include this slide because it's very important in the way that we approach how we are working, because it's this that allowed us 6 weeks ago to change the entire platform of our service delivery so quickly and efficiently and still effectively reach all of our citizens. It was because we had already done a lot of the back work for organizational renewal and are making sure that we had established these organizational and team values ahead of time, and that our team, whether we were in person or in a virtual space, remained a team. And so this is a key to the success of the last 6 weeks and will be a key to the success in moving forward. What we know today? Well, we know a lot, actually. As an organization, we can move really fast. We did it. In 1 week, we took a massive amount of our services to the virtual realm, the virtual, telephonic, and minimal in-person realm. We can provide many in a wide range of our services telephonically, virtually, and with reduced in-person meetings. Some things must be done in person, we know that, but a lot of the things we were able to do in our virtual arena or via the telephone. There's a limit, and we know that, to what we can do without meeting in person, and there should be. We acknowledge that. We have no wish not to be with the public, but there are some things that are easier and more efficiently done, certainly in times like this, that we can do virtually. Law enforcement and first responders can modify their services and have done so in an amazing way. They can modify their approaches, but they must do most of their services essentially in and with the public. Courts and justice-related services can also modify and have done some aspects of their services, but their job ultimately and the crux of what they do, their critical services, must be done in the public, in person, and they must call the public to them to accomplish those services as well, and we recognize that also. Service delivery, whether it's in person, on the phone, or via some of our virtual platforms, requires dedicated, engaged, flexible, and knowledgeable staff. And I think we've seen, and I'll use one tremendous example, which of course is the Health and Human Services Department, on how a dedicated, engaged, flexible, and knowledgeable staff can make an incredible difference. It's been incredibly gratifying to see and to be a part of when we can. The last one was a bit of a funny point, but it also goes back to the right mix of services and the right ways that we can present services to be truly effective. And that is as simple as it seems. Drive-through service windows really work. And in this case, for us, that's something that we accomplish very quickly, and it really works. And we're gonna keep doing it too. Moving along is some of the immediate takeaways that we've found. And this is not all encompassing. These are just some of the high level ones I'm noting. But it's an acknowledgement of all of the amazing things we've seen throughout these last 2 months of what departments are doing, what organizations are doing to work together, and how the services are still being done all across the board. We've managed to use the platform we're using right now, Zoom, and other tools like Microsoft Teams to work in small and large meetings, to accomplish trainings, and to have one-on-one conversations. Our department has managed 2 all-staff meetings in the last 6 weeks, where we had, in person, it was a much bigger challenge, but we were able to do it virtually using Microsoft Teams. And that's 30 people strong, so that's a really amazing thing for us. Through these tools, we have opportunity to reimagine the use of space, to focus on critical functions that must be done in person instead of potential things that maybe need to be done in person. And I think we can look at the great roster of services and identify those things that very critically need to be done one-on-one with the public in the service space. And we have done that successfully over these last 2 months. We can reduce our need for travel between sites and between areas for meetings, trainings, and other conversation, which reduces lost time, staff time in vehicles. It doesn't take away the travel from place to place. It certainly doesn't take away our travel to our outlying areas like Page or Fredonia or Forest Lakes. Our department has been to almost all of those during these 6 weeks. But those small travel times between King Street and downtown, between Fort Valley and King Street, many of those can go away. We can reduce our carbon emissions. We can reduce lost staff time by using these tools we've already noted. We can reduce our use of vehicles and our dependence on fleet and fossil fuels, which is a big positive and always sustainable, and we need to take note of that. We need to utilize the recent lessons learned about telecommuting to realize greater efficiency in our buildings, flexibility of service, and the use of virtual means across the board. The key, and I'm just going to read this one because I think it's very important. The key to the right type of service delivery is a combination of critical hard space, we acknowledge that we need that, virtual platforms, and flexibility in approach to hours, days, and locations. So not sitting hard on an 8 a.m. to a 5 p.m., but perhaps flexing it to a 7 a.m. in some cases, or to a 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. And in how staff is supported to flex through a new landscape of options to deliver service. There are a number of different ways to provide different kinds of services in different places and at different hours that will be most effective for service delivery on the part of employees, but also on the part of receiving it by the public. If we build on these takeaways, we can dive for a deeper understanding of other opportunities. We can recognize other evidence-based practices, which we have a vast number of at this point, and build a strong relationship with the right architectural partner that will lead us into a new way of serving our public. And that's a critical point. We need something new. We have evidence that new and different ways can work for us, and we can build on this to something very different than we anticipated in the beginning, but that will be extremely effective. So about the RFQ. The RFQ was issued last Friday, May 8th, and posted on a number of different websites and of course on our own purchasing website. The mandatory pre-proposal meeting for design services is on the 21st, which we anticipate holding on that because we need to get quite a bit of a feedback. We are concerned about travel at this point. We did ask in the RFQ that the proposers actually visit the site. So we have some concerns about their ability to travel. And so we're waiting for questions about that. The proposals for the services are due on June 17th. That may be amended depending on feedback that we get. We anticipate shortlisting if we do indeed get the proposals on the 17th, having the shortlist by July, and then anticipating an award of contracts by August. So it's ambitious, but we're ready to do it. We're looking for a partner that can help us work through all of the new information that we've got, all of the fire that we've got in so many departments as we work through them. I'm engaged with many departments right now on plans for reentry, and many of them are incredibly innovative, incredibly dedicated to getting service out there, but doing it in a very different way. So it's very exciting. And at that, just some basic information about this RFQ and asking for any questions or comments that you may have.
Thank you very much, Sue. Appreciate the presentation. And so at this time, we are looking for any direction from the board regarding the presentation and the RFP that is out for this particular project. And so are there any members of the board that wish to provide some input at this time or have any questions?
Madam Chair, I'll start.
Okay, go ahead, Supervisor Babbitt.
Great. Well, Sue, that just was, it was just a really inspiring presentation you gave there. I think you really captured, you know, what I am hearing from employees in the organization, that this is a time and an opportunity to, even with the uncertainty, to think really big here. And so I'm really happy that's what you're hearing. And that should play out exactly how it is, which is having the solicitation for the RFQ for services be adjusted to reflect what we've learned in an incredibly short period of time. So, I've had some of my just most casual, but also most informative conversations with employees over the last month. And I just, as I talked about the other day, I want to not just put a Band-Aid back on something because that's what we've always done. Let's leave this, let's take some appropriate risks here. I think our employees are asking for it. I think many are excited by it. And it's not an all or nothing proposition. It is somewhere right in the middle for most folks. And I think they're just really excited. So I just really appreciate your leadership here in putting that together and channeling that motivation for redefining some of how we operate into this process. It's just really well timed. Super excited still to have this move forward, as there's going to be a downturn and the opportunities that engender from a fiscal perspective. And so I'm 100% on board with you and where leadership is going with this. So thank you very, very much.
Madam Chair, thank you, Supervisor Babbitt. Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Your conversations you've had with staff, have they been mostly in person, or have you used different means to do that? Have you used the phone call and things like that, different ways than usual? Do you find yourself changing the way that you're reaching out as well?
It's been less about how, I think it's more about whether I talked on the phone or personal, because I've had them both related to this, but more about just that kind of excitement about the what if, or what could this look like, or, and I've been asking folks, so I said, what's your ideal mix? All right now you're home 5 days a week, some of them, what's the mix? And, it's, and it always comes back to, it's somewhere in the middle. They love the environment that the county brings, and they love a teamwork environment, but they also love some of the other flexibilities, the not commuting, the ability to do things differently. So I think it's a great place to build and blend a hybrid system. And, that's going to mean we're going to have to probably take some leaps, and some of those leaps probably need to come with some leases sooner than later. And I think people are ready to take a leap that's reasonable. So thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm really intrigued by how we are reaching out to each other. And I think that's a real part of how we'll move forward. How do we engage differently than we did standardly? So thank you.
Other members of the board that wish to comment?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Sure, Supervisor Parks, go ahead.
We listened to the staff a while ago in the budget presentation say that this was not going to happen for a couple of years. So do you have an idea of how the services will be allocated between brick and mortar space and virtual working programs? Is the plan to downsize the eventual building space, or what will the building look like in a couple of years or later on?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Parks, that's a really good question. So what we did in the RFQ, our expectation is, because there are, of course, a lot of unknowns, and we put that in our statement of intent, that we understood and we recognize that there are a lot of unknowns going from here. So what we did is we broke up the RFQ into two parts. We did a phase 1 and a phase 2. One thing we do understand is that some of the traditional design of King Street prevents us from doing the services in the way we need to do them today. So the first phase is designed to be a design, is meant to be a design of the remodel of the existing King Street building. And then it says at some point, and that is going to include some of the site design as well. How we wish to use the site, how we wish to look at, different ways of giving service, if it is some sort of drive-through or drop boxes, those kinds of things. How does the site look? is part of that initial phase 1. And then should we decide to move forward with it, phase 2 would be exercised at another time, which would be an additional square footage. And we used the bulk of the description from the previous RFQ that we had, but we acknowledged that that could change, that we expected that we would take all of the information we are learning now and that we would learn in the coming months and challenge the architect, the proposers, to work with us to figure out what the right combination of space is. Is it just remodel? Is it addition? What combination of it is? And how do we use the site? So we talked about the project as we had it before, but we acknowledged that there's much unknown right now. And we separated it into 2 phases to acknowledge that there's much to be learned and much that we have to go through in the coming months to know where we want to be by 2023 as well. Does that answer your question?
And Madam Chair, if I could just add, the discussion this morning during the budget discussion, we have the project plugged in fiscal year 23 for the debt service. If we are able to secure some funding for this project, that's why we're getting everything queued up in the 2 phases. So if we receive some funding and we can move forward with phase 1, and then if we could move forward with phase 2. So that was the idea of breaking it up into 2 parts, the RFQ, but it could move sooner if we do get any kind of federal funding.
Thank you for that. It's important. Any other members of the board that wish to comment?
Madam Chair, this is Lena.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Vice Chair Feller.
So, we've been talking about organizational renewal, and we always envision, what is life going to be like 50 years from now? I think that 50-year idea we had just ran us over. And, and whatever that we had envisioned, all these comments we had, all the lists that we had written out that you all have been working on, it's here. Maybe fewer parking lots and fewer desk space and people working from home. And what does that mean? Where's the cost shift? And that's really what you're looking at right now. Where is that cost shift? Where is manpower, human power? Where's technology? And where are the constituents that need the service? Can they be will we be able to give them some kind of telehealth or tele services of some sort? And where is that cost? And you're at the verge of all of that. And when you think about, in a crazy way of thinking about it in this project anyway, is, blessing in disguise. What if we were already already on the way and building a building? This gives us an opportunity to really look at it. What we just gone through in just a few, few weeks, couple months, and it's just a whole new world. And how do we look at that world? We have to protect ourselves. We have to protect our citizens that come for service. And what does that mean? And we have unknown budget. And what does that mean? Where are the cost savings for that? And so how do we deliver the quality service that we want to deliver in the same fashion, or in the quality standard that we have set at this county? How do we deliver that in the new way of doing business? And that's what we're looking at right here. So it's interesting that I think it's good that you're moving forward. I think it's really good that you're really looking and analyzing. I know all the department heads, I'm sure, and the departments that you're working with. It's just really, I find it interesting. We're gonna see where we land with your proposal. So I'm very interested in this. I just keep thinking about that 50 years from now, it's just hit us in the head and ran us over. So anyway, I really appreciate your presentation, and I think we have to thoughtfully go through and find out what does it mean to be in this new world now.
Thank you, Vice Chair Feller. Well, wonderful. I will take an opportunity just to comment on this as well. This is actually, it's very exciting. It's kind of interesting. We've kind of had immersion form of learning, and we would not have been able to learn all of this without the past 8 weeks of experiences. And it's a unique opportunity to be able to take those experiences and that learning and apply it to the expansion of a building and look at how we can make this building meet our needs even longer than we anticipated by looking at the telecommuting tools and the technology and changing the way we do business historically and traditionally. So I think if there's any silver lining to this, the fact that we've been able to experience this and take what we've learned and apply it is really a silver lining. I think one of the things that I would say is that convenience for people, whether it be a drive-through window, whether it be an opportunity for people to drop things off or apply online, whether it be after 6 in the middle of the night, people who do shift work, the person that can't fall asleep and wants to look up services or conduct some type of business, or that can do that and not have to follow traditional hours of government is really important. And we have incredibly dedicated public servants that do programs on weekends and do evening programs, but there is an opportunity for people to be able to do some self-service type of programs and complete applications and get their request in a queue through very non-traditional working hours. And so I think looking at that, one of the things that I've learned in some of not only the visit that we did to Colorado and to the Adams County and the other county there, but also in looking at the new Toyota corporate offices where they located all of their staff, and looking at just that space of bringing the outside in. I think just with the COVID right now and knowing about being able to create that social distancing, the importance of bringing the natural air in, having not just the same recirculated air, I think is really important to think about. So I think just looking at like the health of a building is also very important. Like, how do we make sure that our buildings are healthy, that the air is healthy, is super important. I think the other thing is in terms of the innovation, is looking at the public, and if there's a number of different ways that the public, we talked about the public utilizing the space for community meetings, but also looking at how can we utilize technology for that. I mean, I know when we think about when communities gather, we always talk about like physically gathering, but is there a way that even technology can be used for people to gather? I mean, would there be a a space where people can hold gatherings via technology, like a control center almost, or maybe like a space where people can access technology or internet where they don't have it. I mean, I know that during this time right now, we're allowing people to, to come to our parking lots, and we've opened up our Wi-Fi for people to be able to use that. I mean, is that something that we could, allow in the future to give people opportunities to connect? Is there some type of, I don't know, touchdown technology centers in our buildings that people can use? I think, this has opened up a whole new world to us, as to use Vice Chair Fowler's words. And I think the possibilities are endless. And so I just appreciate the spirit of which you're approaching this. I mean, I think we kind of felt like we were being innovative before, but we've just upped the ante quite a bit in terms of what we're experiencing. And it is consistent in terms of what Supervisor Babbitt's hearing from our workforce at the county. I mean, as you know, we did have our all teams meeting in town hall last week Monday. And, some of the questions that came through that was, are there still going to be opportunities to telecommute? Are there still going to be opportunities to be able to use technology to, is there going to be opportunities to maybe get out of leasing some space or re-looking at our capital facilities so that not everybody physically has to be in a building? And so I think it's great, because usually what would maybe terrify a lot of people seems to be met with enthusiasm in our organization. And I think you're right, Sue, the organizational renewal, recognizing that people work very different ways, can work very different ways and be very productive. You don't have to sit in a chair and warm up a seat to be productive. And so I think that's really important to recognize those differences and those modes of productivity. So I'm very excited, really happy about the RFQ moving forward. Really optimistic about, how we might be able to fund this, looking for some funding opportunities, some grants, etc. So really glad that we're going to be poised and ready if the opportunity presents itself.
Madam Chair, thank you. I think we have some amazing opportunities. Every day, I'm privileged to have conversations with directors and employees across the county, and every one of the conversations involves some new way of communicating, connecting, and serving. And if we use half of them, we will be doing something extraordinary, and I'm quite confident we'll be using more than that. We just need a really good partner to help us do that. We're looking for somebody who's not afraid to go places that a rural county in northern Arizona may not traditionally have gone. We need a partner who will go with us, who will spur us and challenge us a bit. And I think what we'll get from that will be really rich, and it will be resilient, and it will be sustainable. So thank you. I appreciate all of your comments.
Thank you. County Manager Jane, it looks like you have some comments.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, board members. I want to say again, thank you to DCM Keene and to Director Brown. But I just, bottom line, want to say that I'm super excited about this conversation. Just look at the spirit of this conversation, and we've evolved a long ways, and several of you have talked about that, of where we've come today. And yes, we've gone through we're going through a very challenging time right now, and it has stretched our team, it has stretched our organization. But I think out of that stretch is also going to come a lot of opportunity on how we do our work differently moving forward, and how we serve people. You know, things that like drive up. I mean, we've experimented with some things that we wouldn't necessarily experiment on in the normal course of business, and we've done that, and we're doing it successfully. And I am super excited about what we can do to look at eliminating lease space. I mean, that's something that we are really putting our shoulder into on how we do this responsibly, how we do it effectively, but how we do it well, to enhance service to people and community, but also leveraging the resources of our team members and leveraging the space that we have. So looking at kind of what we have now and the interim steps, but also through the RFQ that the team has put together in getting, and Sue, I just really appreciate your comments and identify with that term partner. You talk about getting that partner on board with us that will help us through this process and help us to make right decisions moving forward. So Madam Chair, members of the board, I just appreciate the space to have these conversations and really excited about what the future holds, and just excited to be on this journey with you right now, and just say thank you to Sue and Joanne and the team for your leadership in this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, County Manager Jane. So let's see. Any other member of the board that wishes to weigh in before I ask Deputy County Manager Keene to close us out? Okay, hearing none, then I'll pass it over
Madam
to
Chair.
you. Joanne? Oh, yes, Supervisor Parks, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This kind of is bothering me a little bit. Okay, as it looks like right now, there are many more questions than answers on how we will be viewing the usefulness of this building, even before it's even through the design phase. It looks like to me that we obviously need to wait on the RFQ until we have a better idea of what we will need in a new building, depending on what we learn about how we will do work in the near future. I think we need to hold off on making any decisions on this so that they don't turn out to be rash decisions. And the design services and the firms and the short list of the firms and the awarding of a contract looks like to me it needs to be in the future, not now. Thanks.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Parkson. Go ahead. Yes, Deputy County Manager King, go ahead.
Sure. I would be happy to comment. Chairwoman Archuleta and Supervisor Parks, I think those are excellent comments. And I think the challenge that we're in right now is that we need that work to be done by an architect to really kind of assess what our needs are, and then be able to use that to apply for funding sources. So I think the decision to kind of move this RFQ in two parts, and Sue can comment on this further, but we will have the option to not move forward with the entire design. We could do the design in phases just for the remodel and then for the new building. But I think a key part of this is having an architect help us kind of really figure out how we can do business differently. And I think that's what we're really looking for right now. And we need that in order to apply for federal funds. And I will say we already have a couple of options for federal funds that have come forward just in the last few days. So they're out there, and it's definitely a time to jump on an opportunity. Sue?
Madam Chair, Joanne, I agree. We do have the option of not exercising that second phase, should we so choose. And when we first picked this back up a few weeks ago, one of the conversations is what is to be eligible for stimulus funds, what do we have to get done? And we acknowledge that King Street, however good a building is a difficult model to work in. And we even more so as we were working through the EOC and things like that. The adaptations we made and the operational costs we had to extend in terms of access controls and things like that to make it work for us. It happens pretty much all the time when we try to change the way we use King Street because it's such a traditional model. It has lobbies and sub-lobbies, and in some cases sub-lobbies, which none of them are usable service space. They're just for people to wait. And we really seek a more direct service. And so some remodel of King Street is necessary for future development of services for providing services today. It would be ideal to be able to reconfigure it. But we have the option. We would have the design. We have the option moving forward with construction. And then we have the option of designing for the second phase as well. So we did put in options, and we have the options at any point to stop with design as well. And that will be part of the contract, to own whatever product we have up to that point, but to stop at any point as well.
Great. And I know that County Manager Jane would also like to add to this conversation. Jimmy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. And Mr. Parks, I do understand kind of the caution, but I agree with staff recommendation at this point to move forward with the RFQ for the reasons stated. We do have a few pennies squirreled away for the purpose of planning and looking at what our future needs are, and in the capital space. These decisions are also, we're making long-term decisions here. This isn't something that's about the next 5 years. I mean, we're looking at the next 50 years. But using and bringing a professional team member or a professional partner to the table to help us make the best informed decisions that are completely, that we have our team members that are internally included in this conversation as we move forward. So it's, but again, as Joanne also, Madam Chair, and board members had shared, that there's some real opportunities for funding that we also don't want to see be passed by because we aren't ready for them. So right now it's how do we, in a fairly expeditious but responsible way and timeline, get prepared for dollars that could be coming. But in the meantime, it's also going to help us having a larger organizational conversation about the departments and the services and how we offer them. So I fully support, I understand the caution, but I support where staff is with the RFQ and moving forward. And I believe it's being done for all the right reasons. And we look forward to continuing these conversations on a regular basis with the board as we've had previously before we kind of took the hiatus. But moving forward, there'll be continual conversations that the board and the organization will be involved in.
Madam Chair.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so we've just heard that there are lobbies within lobbies within lobbies in the King Street building. Obviously, somebody designed that building. They designed it wrong for what the reality is now. Are we going to have someone else design a building that is wrong for the reality that we have in 3 years or 10 years or 50 years? With jumping ahead with this just because somebody dangles a carrot in front of our face on a stick that we can have this funding now. I don't get it, why we need to jump ahead to spend money when we can study this and come out with a better solution in time. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Supervisor Parks, and certainly we can continue to have this discussion. I mean, of course, part of the process of hiring the architect and part of the reason why county staff and a couple of us went to Adams County, Colorado, is to see how other counties are going about delivering services, their health and human services, and how they're breaking down silos of departments, and how they're doing cross training, and how they're integrating services and doing providing services by using technology, et cetera. And so we already, when we came back from those meetings last fall, and we had already been providing input all along in terms of how, what the buildings of the future may look like, and probably, should look like in terms of being able to deliver the most efficient and effective services. And now all that we're saying, although, there's a lot of enthusiasm expressed tonight. What we are saying is that we now have been able to put into practice, some of that very, very quickly, intentionally, but unexpectedly. And so what we're saying is we've been able to show and demonstrate how technology does work, how innovation works, how doing business, at various hours is helpful to the public. And so, we always strive to provide excellent customer service to the public and to meet the changing needs of the public. And so I think, we're not saying scrap everything that we've thought of up until this point. We're actually saying build on what we've thought of up until this point. And, Sue has been in numerous work sessions with us about this building and about what potentially we can do in terms of adding onto it, and how that will take us into the future. And so now we're just saying is, hey, let's just use what we've learned in this past 8 weeks to further refine and enhance the possibilities. So I don't see it as, like rushing into it. I just see it as, hey, don't forget to take some of this that we've learned most recently into consideration to help us extend our services, to continue to meet the needs of the public. And as we think about the usefulness of the building going forward. And, the fact that there are opportunities to possibly pursue funding, and that it seems like it's very realistic possibilities. I guess just speaking as one member of the board, is that I would rather take up that opportunity and save the money in our budget and in our capital facilities plan to not have to spend that money and go after grants and opportunities that would be available now. We can save the taxpayers money in doing that. So let's see, is there anything else that we need in terms of providing input?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would just add, just to support what you just said, that, when we're in a financial situation that we're in and facing the unknown, I think we really need to prepare ourselves. And sometimes we need help from the outside to be able to make sure that we lay the firmest foundation to be able to move forward and see where the path takes us. And that knowledge, I think, is very important. And I think that our staff and the leadership that we have here, we really need to have a thoughtful approach to this and be able to move forward. And I think that's where we're at right now. So if there's an opportunity, I think we need to take that on. So thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Okay, well, I think we've discussed this, and I think the staff has what they need. And so we need to move on to our next item. And thank you very much for the work on this. This is an update, discussion, and possible action regarding coronavirus. And the person that will be providing this update is Kim Musselman. And so I will turn it over to Kim.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Supervisors, County Manager Jane, and all of those who are listening in tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to provide a COVID-19 response update. We have just entered into week 9 of the response. And to begin with, I'd like to just give an overview of the current numbers, talk about a little bit of the case reporting and some of the changing elements around that, as well as some testing site updates and a little bit of staff recognition around some of the efforts that have been big, heavy lifts over the last few weeks, and also provide you an update with our isolation and quarantine hotel operation and a brief update regarding some of the other alternative care site developments as well. So with that, I'll get started with our numbers. We have 694 positive cases to date. Flagstaff has 138 total cases. Our tribal communities have 456 total cases. Page has 87, and other communities combined across our county have 13 cases. Coconino County reported 151 new cases for the week of May 9th. That's our highest number of new cases reported in 1 week since the outbreak began in our county. During that same time period, Flagstaff reported 53 new cases, the highest week to date. 53 cases in a week is significantly higher than the five-week average of 12 new cases per week. And if I can be successful at this, I was going to share just a quick little graph with you on my screen. Can you all see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. I just wanted to show you this briefly. As you can see, the spike ending last week, we are only 3 days into the current week. And of course, the numbers that will be being reported in the morning will be through positive test results that come in through today. And you will see that these are continuing to spike in our region, despite the news and the governor's executive order that came out today. The picture across Arizona versus Coconino County is very different. In Coconino County, we have a rate of 471 cases per 100,000 population, and the state of Arizona has a rate of 158 cases per 100,000 population. This is crucial context for what is happening here in Coconino County, and it shows that the rate of cases in Coconino County is more than double the rate of cases in Arizona as a whole. Coconino County has had 3,555 total negative cases, and that has resulted in a 17% positivity rate. So our positivity rate is actually decreasing because we have been increasing our testing. There are currently 302 pending tests and sadly 57 deaths in Coconino County. Our hospitalization total of 115, which is 17% of all cases, and currently hospitalized are 28. One of the things that has been coming up frequently over the last couple of days is some concern about the difference in discrepancy between what's being reported on the ADHS dashboard for positive cases. And I just want to provide some clarification around that. The state has recently started tracking and posting on the dashboard serology and antibody case testing. And I just want to give some context to that in terms of what our staff are doing and what we are looking to be doing over the next few days as we are reporting our cases on our county dashboard. County staff As many of you have known, the health department has been including the probable cases as well. And I wanted to take a moment to discuss how those probable cases are defined and our process for tracking and reporting them. It's important for us to share the distinction of looking at what those probable cases are and how also how we are reporting and tracking our death data by reviewing death records. So ADHS tracks those death records and they enter them into the medical tracking system. And that is the sole responsible of ADHS. So the county staff haven't been tracking this, but we are working to develop a method to share the probable death data on our website as well. In addition, of course, I'd mentioned the ADHS is starting to report the antibody testing, and especially that's increasing as it's becoming more readily available. And our epidemiology team is working to develop a standardized process for investigating, tracking, and reporting out cases that result from positive antibody test results. And we're also working on informational section on the website for antibody testing and serology information for the public as these tests become more readily available. So a little update on our testing sites. Testing continues at Fort Tuthill Monday through Friday from 10 to 3 p.m. Today we collected 47 specimens at the Fort Tuthill site, which was a very big day. Staff have also been testing across the county, and today we collected 34 samples at a mobile collection site at Northland Family Help Center, and staff will be on site tomorrow conducting some testing at the peaks. Some new information that we just received yesterday and got some more clarification on today is the White House testing recommendation. And on Monday, the White House recommended to all governors that all residents and staff at the nation's nursing homes, specifically Medicare certified facilities, should be tested for COVID in the next 2 weeks. The Arizona Department of Health Services has developed a plan to implement this testing, and the governor confirmed this at his press conference earlier this afternoon. We've been advised that ADHS will be contracting with mobile collection teams to collect specimens at these facilities. We've been assured that no local resources would be needed. Sonora Quest will be conducting the testing of these specimens, reporting results both to the facilities and to our public health department. Testing is set to begin next week. Coconino County has 4 nursing home facilities in our jurisdiction, and Arizona has a total of 147 nursing facilities in the state. And as we continue to partner with ADHS, we will share updates on the progress of this testing as it becomes available. So a little overview of our testing blitz. Our second Saturday testing blitz was a huge success. County staff conducted specimen collection at the County Health and Human Services Department from 10 to 3 p.m. with the support of a multitude of partners, including law enforcement, National Guard, Flagstaff Medical Center, and county staff. I would also add, and in partnership also with TGen Laboratory, many of their staff were out there as well. County staff successfully tested 413 people at the event, and we are working to relay the test results as they're made available. Unfortunately, I shared with you via email yesterday, there were some testing delays due to some flooding at the laboratory, but those samples collected at the testing blitz have been sent to the ADHS laboratory, and they are currently being tested. And there may be a slightly longer turnaround for results from this blitz as compared to the previous blitz, but we're hopeful that that won't be too great of an impact. In order to ensure rapid testing for our blitz, we are working with TGen to establish if they can stand up Saturday and Sunday testing. We absolutely appreciate our partnership with TGen Laboratories and their open communication that has really allowed us to make the necessary adjustments in light of the issue at their facility. I would like to make a note and some staff recognition specifically related to the flexibility of staff. It's really been difficult to gauge how many people would go to the blitz. For instance, approximately 300 people registered for the blitz, yet we tested 413 people. Staff really rose to the occasion. We had 2 drive-through lanes, 2 walk-up lines, and the sense from the general public may be that the drive-through lanes move slowly, but almost every car had multiple passengers. And it's important to note that as we conduct those specimen collections, every individual has to complete a separate form, regardless of whether they arrived in the same car or even if they share a residence. And our staff continue to follow protocol while moving cars with multiple passengers quickly through moving passengers quickly through the testing lines. And even once the walk-up lane slowed down, staff quickly shifted and asked people in cars if they wanted to join the walk-up lines. Those staff were agile and responsive, and we're incredibly proud of these efforts. By way of the testing blitz follow-up, the call center staff will again be supporting the operations team and contacting individuals for follow-up with the negative test results from Saturday's testing blitz. And all hard copies of test results will be mailed to all of the individuals as well. There's one more Super Saturday Blitz, testing blitz, remaining in the state's testing blitz, and it is on this Saturday the 16th, and we're going to be participating again. Testing again will be open to all of the public for anyone who is exhibiting symptoms or who believes they may have been exposed to COVID, and it will likely run from 10 to 3 again. Again, anyone is welcome. No one will be turned away. Anyone who would like to get a test will be able to get a test, supplies permitted. And we have requested additional testing specimen kits from the state as well, so that we should be able to accommodate anyone and everyone who would like to be tested. Certainly, again, our success has been truly attributed to the dedication of our county staff and all of our regional partners. And we're really grateful for all of that work. And we anticipate an even higher volume for the final week of the Blitz. So we're excited to see where that brings us. I wanted to provide a brief little update regarding the Abbott testing machine and what we've been using it for to date, and also provide a little clarity as to its true ability to be transported, because it's not as small and easily moved as was initially envisioned. If it's moved, it has to be recalibrated. So currently right now, the machine is at King Street, but it's being moved over and gonna be set up permanently at the Fort Tuthill testing site. But this machine is being used primarily for first responders and medical personnel who have had an exposure and, and we are scheduling appointments with those folks to be able to get them in and get them tested. One of the things we continue to do is try to source additional testing kits. Again, we still have a small number of kits for that Abbott machine, but we are utilizing them and have tested several first responders and jail personnel and others with that Abbott testing machine. The alternative care site update, I know there was, when General McGuire was up here and there were conversations, and we've had multiple conversations about the Walgreens testing site, or the Walgreens, the Walgreens warehouse site. And just wanted to clarify and make sure that everyone is understands and clear, and this was the also message from General McGuire, was that the Tier 2 facility at the Walgreens site, the plans have been developed. However, the state is currently shelving that project until such time as it is clearly needed. At this time, DEMA, as well as General McGuire and others, believe that our operation of our Tier 1 at Aspen Hotel, along with transporting individuals to other places around the state to meet any kinds of surge, are currently meeting the needs. But certainly, should the situation change, DEMA is prepared to move on the Walgreens site. Basically, there need to be certain trigger points that need to be met in order for that to be instituted. There have been continued discussions with regional healthcare providers and talking about what the anticipated needs are. And I had mentioned this to several of you, to all of you, a couple of weeks ago. There's been some conversations that have continued with Arizona Department of Health, and also engaging reaching out to some of our skilled nursing facilities and rehabilitation facilities to see if there were some opportunities for a different type of alternative care site to meet the needs that our providers are indicating, which is for more skilled nursing and medical recovery post ICU and med-surg stays in the hospital. And I'm excited to report that I was able to reach out to the Rehabilitation Hospital of Northern Arizona, make contact with Dr. Holt. That came from a recommendation from Dr. John Mugen at FMC, and had a great conversation with him, which is now, I had shared that conversation with the ADHS task force, a small task force group that's exploring some of these alternatives with respect to skilled nursing. And Dr. Holt has since spoken with the CEO of the corporation, as well as their compliance director, and a meeting is being scheduled with all of those parties to discuss options for utilizing additional bed capacity and staffing at that facility, which is located here in Flagstaff, which would help with a lot of the needs that FMC, Chinle, some of the other hospitals, Page Regional, others have indicated as being a need. So, and Madam Chair, if there are questions to this point, I'm happy to entertain them, or if you would like me to continue along on the next couple of topics, I'm happy to do so.
Okay, well, let me see if there are any questions at this point. Questions for Kim?
I have a question on the Abbott machine.
Yes, go ahead.
So Kim, I was just wondering how that machine, who of the first responders can be tested? Just anybody, first responders from throughout the county, or how is that set up?
So at this, thank you, Madam Chair, Supervisor Fowler, thank you for that question. How it's set up right now is one of the things that's really important to remember is that there are opportune times to be tested after an exposure to a potential exposure to COVID. And so we're working with all of the first responders, and we're really working with all of the public to understand. We have a great information sheet. I know that we just started using this past weekend to kind of give people an idea of when, after an exposure, they're most likely to show a positive test result if in fact they have come into contact and been exposed to COVID and potentially have contracted it. So when we get contact calls from law enforcement agencies, and yes, they can be anywhere across the county, we are talking to them about when they believe the officers were exposed. And if it's falling within, it's been, approximately 5 to 7 days prior, it's really a prime opportunity to be tested in general, but to utilize that Abbott machine. So we are kind of triaging those things on an individual basis at this time. However, there's a process being set up where the machine will be at Fort Tuthill. There will be multiple staff that are trained to use it. There's a little more time it is a rapid test with a quicker result. However, it still involves several steps and staff time to complete that testing. So we're in the process of setting up for people to be able to schedule an appointment time if they, have discovered that they have been exposed, maybe have some symptoms, and then we're arranging a time during our regular testing hours of 10 to 3 for first responders to be able to be tested.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Go ahead, Kim. Oh, hang on, Supervisor Babbitt, go ahead.
Yeah, so thanks, Kim. Just super appreciate all the work you've been doing and your team and Marie. And the sites have just run amazingly, well. I've checked in on them, so it's just been amazing to watch that. How are we situated for tests? You said you request more. How many test kits do we currently have? I know we're probably under 100 or something on the Abbott ones, but the generic or the general nasal swab ones, how many do we have, and do we have more coming in, and what's the kind of supply chain on that?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Supervisor Babbitt. I appreciate that question. And I'm going to apologize right now because I just realized I don't think I have the exact count of where we're sitting with our testing supplies in my notes, and I apologize for that. However, what I will say is we have requested from ADHS an additional 500 kits that we are hopeful to have it sounded very hopeful that they should be able to get those to us, because when we had requested kits last week, we had asked for 500, thinking would cover the next 2 weekends based off of our numbers that we had been able to collect samples on the prior Saturday. However, we far exceeded that. So they believe that they can send us additional samples. We also have several orders that are still pending, one of which I believe came in today, which was an order for 1,000 additional swabs, which we have the viral media and the saline kits to make a complete kit. So at this point in time, I think we are still, in terms of actual in the house kits, we are sitting around 1,000 kits that we still have available, and several other orders that appear to be promising that they may actually be delivered. We keep our fingers crossed.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that. And then the last thing is do we have, I'm getting more and more antibody questions. Can you make available, or do we have available kind of a one sheet on that? That is, obviously it's going through Sonora Quest, but how we can feed people information on what, reliability, kind of the epidemiology behind that, and why you would want to take one at any given time.
Chair Archuleta, Supervisor Babbitt, thank you for that question. One of the things that we had just been asking staff to put into place is making sure that we get some of that information, specifically where they can contact Sonora Quest and other labs who are doing it. But I will absolutely take that back, and we can certainly get together a one sheet that can easily be put on the website to give people some guidance about the where they can go and the appropriateness of who they're targeting on the antibody tests as well.
Awesome, that'd be great. Thanks so much, Kim.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Kim at this time? All right, well, why don't you go on to the next subject, Kim?
Excellent, thank you. So the next subject is the isolation and quarantine hotel update. As the board is fully aware, we've had lots of conversations about the isolation and quarantine hotel status, and many things changed rather rapidly last week. And so thank you to all of you for that willingness and receptiveness to making a pivot in what is a needed response for our community. I guess where I'd like to start with that is, to date, we have housed 150 individuals at our hotel operation. And as of this evening, there were 74 guests on the premise and 21 new individuals who were brought into the hotel between Saturday and Sunday. Many of those came from Flagstaff Shelter Services, as we have been partnering very diligently over the last several days in helping manage an outbreak in our shelter. And I would just like to point out that we have actually been receiving a lot of clients, a lot more positive guests into the hotel, coming from not only the Flagstaff Medical Center, certainly Flagstaff Shelter Services, our other shelter operations are also seeing positive cases. And so we've brought many of those into Hotel Aspen, and we had been reporting an average length of stay of approximately 6.9 days. Obviously, that is going to be increasing significantly due to our number of positive cases currently sheltered at the hotel. We had some great conversations today with Ross Altenbaugh at Flagstaff Shelter Services, and really talking about a strategy going forward, in particular with their addition of their Hotel 3, and also some of our concerns about really continuing to provide safety and security at the hotel for all of the guests who are positive, as well as all of our vulnerable folks that we had staying there. And we've made some good progress in planning and moving forward. And I'll look forward to continuing to bring that to you as it develops. But we are all definitely working in the right direction. And again, appreciate the support of the board as we've been moving through that arena. I did want to just give a shout out as well to staff again, and certainly people rallying, both our patient support folks, Eve Walters. There was just a great rally, certainly Marie and Supervisor Archuleta and others on Sunday, to be able to respond immediately to a very large number of folks that needed to be moved into Hotel Aspen. And staff worked on Mother's Day to coordinate and transfer 12 different individuals from the shelter to our hotel, much of it going late into the night. And this effort was truly a testament to the dedication to the community and an incredible lift in response to a really high-risk challenge. So I just want to give a shout out and appreciate all of the folks who have continued to contribute to this effort. Basically, the last couple things I wanted to touch on before I entertain any other questions that you may have was just to let you all know that we, as we have been working through logistics at the hotel, some of the things that had been some obstacles, one of them was we had some phones, about 17 of them, that were not working on site. And so we were able to, and I'll give all this credit to Wes Deason in logistics and with emergency management. He quickly reached out through the Verizon emergency response, was able to secure that we're going to be getting 20 home phone connect kits that are going to be arriving tomorrow. And these are kits that are cellular based in operation, but they look, feel, and act like regular home phones. So they're going to actually plug in to the phones that are on site. They have an 8 to 10 hour internal battery backup. They don't require any infrastructure to function. We're going to be able to track the phone numbers with the hotel tracking phone system so that we'll know which numbers are in which rooms, and guaranteeing security. The technology, clients using the phones, it'll just be like, it'll look and feel just like the regular landline phones in the room. So this technology, again, is being provided free of charge, both equipment and airtime. They were being shipped, I believe, from Louisiana, and again, arriving tomorrow. And they can be cleaned, they can be decontaminated with the rest of the room. And if any are damaged, lost, or stolen, it's not going to fall back on us. It's not an issue for Verizon. We're going to simply return what we have when we no longer need them. So I just wanted to share that with you. There's lots of really great things going on, and an incredible amount of work by folks. And it's a real honor to work alongside everyone who is continuing to work so dedicated to our community. So with that, Madam Chair, I've pretty much provided everything I wanted to touch on. I'm happy to entertain any additional questions that anyone may have.
Thank you very much, Kim. We really appreciate the comprehensive report. Let me ask if there are any other questions for Kim at this time, or comments. Okay, well, I too just want to recognize both Dr. Peoples, yourself, the entire EOC team, which is, people are just amazing. I mean, so dedicated and, incredible professionals there. As you mentioned, all the patient support team, all of the folks from Health and Human Services who are working on this, on the pandemic and the response. Especially want to recognize those who worked on Mother's Day, those who, know that they're always on and can always be called at any moment, and those who may have been expected being called, and those who completely unexpected being called in and were. And so really appreciate that. I mean, we just have incredible people who are, dedicated to the care of others and to community. And so definitely want to make sure that they know that the board appreciates them. I would like at some point for the board to be able to recognize the people that the team that we have working on the pandemic, and everyone who has had a part and has been willing to work long and odd hours on the response. And so, but in the meantime, if you would just convey our deep appreciation for them and recognition that, you know, we know how hard they're working, and I want them to know that we do recognize that, and we do know that they may not think that we have this information, and we do. So please let them know just how incredibly proud we are, and how we really want to acknowledge their work. I see Vice Chair Fowler and Supervisor Babbitt who want to say something. Vice Chair Fowler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I do get a little emotional because of just the team, just so compassionate and do everything they can to serve people that are in the most need, and try to figure out how to make sure they're comfortable in the most vulnerable state in their life. I mean, to even find a phone for them to be able to use that phone. It's just amazing, just the outpour of dedication and the drive that you have with your heart. I just want to thank everyone, all of our team that is up in the front lines, and staying calm and trying to strategize and say, this is the way it's going to happen. I just want to thank you. And you create I don't know where these people are coming from. We don't know. And you make them as comfortable as you can, and talk about having respect and treating someone with dignity. And that is part of our county. That's what we've talked about. And here it is, it's being played out right in front of us. And I just want to thank you and your team for creating that little glimpse of Hojo, knowing what that means for individuals that didn't know where they were or where they're going and where they're going to end up. And you established that for them. Thank you. Appreciate you and all of the team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Supervisor Fowler, and I will absolutely share your comments, and because it's an amazing team that we work with. So thank you.
Supervisor Babbitt.
Yeah, great. So just, following up with that, Kim, you expressed, from you and Marie and folks, the appreciation for us being nimble. It really needs to come from us to you, because, we were all working to find a kind of shorter to medium term solution that served different and a variety of objectives. And so, that was the nimbleness and adaptiveness came from your side of the street. And it was from my perspective, 100% the right move. And that's got it until we get a kind of semblance of path forward with stability to it. This is the right place for us to be. And so I think that fits right from Lena's comments, where it's the right place for it to be, because we need to do that for members of our community who need us. And you all are serving folks in just a monumental way. And so just, the comments I get from people who understand intuitively what's going on with the work that many of us don't see the intricacies and details of is really important. So to Marie, Eve, and all the tens and tens and tens of people who are under those folks, just please express our profound gratitude to their dedication and work. The one question I have for you is, we are not at stability, especially with the most vulnerable in our homeless populations. Yet, how are the conversations going about the collective set of funding that different jurisdictions, advocacy to the governor, that the county is looking at to make sure we stand up the capacity first on 1, 2, and 3 to support the 120 rooms at the the positive Hotel Aspen. How are those conversations going? And what is kind of the path forward, not of the outcome, but of the conversation with North Country, with Flag Shelter Services, Catholic Charities, Hope, and all the other congregate partners here?
So thank you, Madam Chair, Supervisor Babbitt. Thank you for all of those comments, and I will again appreciate that, and we'll pass those along to all of our amazing team. With respect to your question in terms of those conversations, I would say they're going great. We had another conversation this afternoon, specifically with North Country, with FMC and Ross was a part of that conversation, as was County Manager Jane and myself. And many things have been put into place. I know there's still a lot of uncertainty when you speak about the funding and the advocacy around that. Certainly tonight, the city's award of the CDBG funds, specifically to Flag Shelter Services, Catholic Charities, to the county for the rental assistance and utility assistance. Those are huge and much needed. I know we are continuing to work in conversations with all of the shelters. I think that there likely needs to be some additional advocacy that I would advocate that the board could have a very positive role in doing so and I know Lucinda was speaking to this earlier in another meeting about how do we use the board and leverage making sure that the funding that has been made available through the state is actually getting to the shelters. I don't think that they've received any of that money yet either. So I do believe that there's a role that the county can continue to help play in bringing the funding, not only for what we are submitting for, as you're all aware, with respect to submitting for reimbursement and through the fast pay track and waiting and getting first in line, if you will, for that funding, but also helping our partners to be able to access that money that's being promised out there, but hasn't necessarily been realized yet. So I don't know if that answers your question specifically or not, Supervisor Babbitt, but that's kind of
it paints the picture. I do think, assuming we get circled back with General McGuire on the upfront rapid reimbursement, it is my hope and expectation that we are playing that triggers a different cash flow reality for us that I believe we need to be actively engaged in triaging this event now that cash flow issue is, at least theoretically, until it comes through, it's all theoretical, but it sounded like we got that commitment, and to make sure that we can use that opportunity to walk and put out the next fire in front of us, because that's I think that would be something I'm very interested in making sure we are engaged in. So thanks, Kim, and I'll let you go with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Supervisor Babbitt. Appreciate all that.
Okay, anybody else? All right, super. So the testing blitz again, 10 to 3 over at Health and Human Services, the one site, correct?
Correct.
All right, walk-ups and vehicles, of course. And let's see, I think any other reminders we need to give to people?
I don't think so. I do want to add, I know we have reached out to some of the Flagstaff Unified School nurses to come join our team and hopefully maybe lend us some additional swabbing support, because we were able to really triage and move a lot of people, and we think we can do that even more efficiently by adding a few other swabbers. And it sounds like we've already got 1 or 2 takers because we got our awesome nursing staff and case management staff have been reaching out. So it sounds like we may be bringing in even some more volunteers from around the community to help us out at the testing blitz. So we're excited about that. There will also be testing again in Page at Canyonlands. And I believe the hours are going to also be again from 7 to 7. I know there's several other testing blitz locations taking place around the Navajo Nation. Certainly, I believe Supervisor Fowler is aware of those and could speak to any addition of that. But I think that at least there's a little bit more opportunity at around the county for the testing blitz. And this will be the final one of the current 3 weekend blitz that the state announced. And we'll wait to see if they decide to institute anything else after this Saturday. And otherwise, we're going to continue to do what it is folks are doing really well and making sure that we are advocating for testing and really getting a good understanding and containment of this disease. So thank you.
Great. Supervisor Babbitt, I see that you'd like to speak.
Yeah, I mean, so early on, we put a call out for volunteers. I passed quite a few number of medically trained, some ER docs, some nurses, some EMTs onto the county early on that was being held. And then many of those were being forwarded to that larger portal in the state. But we should have folks who raised their hands and signed up and gave their names and contact lists. I just want to remind
yes, thank you.
Remind you on that, Kim, because there are people here who want to help.
Absolutely, and thank you for that, Supervisor Babbitt. And I will actually connect back with Ben and Wendy in terms of our medical volunteer corps. I know many of them have been processed into the entire system, and I believe there's even been some outreach statewide and certainly from some of the other hospitals reaching out to some of those folks to get them into service. So thank you for that, and I will make sure that we reach back out to that group as well for our for our testing blitz and other needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Appreciate the report tonight. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead, Vice Chair Fowler.
Yes, I just want to, I have a question and then I want to just give a schedule out, which Winslow Indian Healthcare does testing every day from Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 4 p.m. and on Sundays 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So just want to announce that. And the Tuba City Regional Healthcare Corporation so far has 2 testing sites. Friday, May 15th at the Cameron Elementary School and in the parking lot, and on Tuesday, May 19th at the Untitled Chapter in the parking lot. And both of them are from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Otherwise, they're doing it at the hospital as well. And yes, they're all the hospitals are coordinating their services. So anyway, I just want to add that. But Kim, I just wondered about the testing kits. You mentioned earlier that we have the Abbott machine, and you mentioned something about maybe not having enough test kits, or how does that work? I mean, do we have to purchase those, and how do we obtain those? Since it's a machine, is it different than the test kits when we are telling people that you are going to come in for come be tested? What are the differences between those?
So, Madam Chair, Supervisor Fowler, thank you for that question. The difference is the swab itself is the same, and the method of how the swab and the sample is obtained is the same. However, what the swab goes into and is the actual kit part of it that is specialized to the Abbott machine. And those are test kits that we have to order. We actually can only order and procure them through the state. We are to date, I do not believe we have paid for any additional kits. We're getting what we are ordering through the state, the allotment that we are allowed as frequently as we can order them. We have been looking to try to source and pay for them, but because of the way that the purchase is set up, it has to go through the state right now. So we are continuing to follow up with them and try to get as many kits as they can release at any given time. And because it seems as though they're only getting a certain allotment as well. So that's what we're doing with that. As to the other test kits and just testing in general, many of the kits we are able to get donated, whether it comes through the state. Others we are paying for. We've bought some from the U of A that we've sent folks down to pick those up for regular testing kits. We've been purchasing things online. Many of the orders I was referencing earlier that we're waiting to come in, those are swabs that we are purchasing and paying for in a myriad of costs and ways. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. And, you know, our county is miles apart. It seems like it takes a lot of expense just for first responders to drive to Flagstaff to be able to be tested with this machine. They don't all drive here. They can get their testing where they are as well, right?
Yes, Supervisor Fowler, absolutely. There are many different locations where first responders and others are able to report to. I mean, certainly, you know, it's limited as you are aware, but absolutely, I know, I don't know what the situation is with who else potentially has Abbott machines. I'm not sure if Page Regional has access to an Abbott machine. I know that there are now a good number, and I don't recall the exact number, but that are at Tuba City Regional. So I do know that there are other locations where people can access, in particular the Abbott test, but certainly many other locations where folks can get testing in general.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great discussion. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate the update. Thank you, Dr. Peoples. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right, that takes us to our next agenda item. We're on item number 29. This is discussion, update, and possible direction to staff regarding state and/or federal legislative and administrative matters. And we have Eric Peterson, Director of Public Affairs, who's going to take us through this item. Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Eric Peterson, Public Affairs Director. I'll start with obviously news that we heard today. The HEROES Act, which I will get pulled up on the screen here, has been introduced. This is the act from the House government, from the House in the U.S. House, that provides a bunch of money, over $3 trillion total. This is the summary page in relation to state and local funds. Again, as we talked about earlier, states have been split apart from the local governments in this funding pot. So there's two sets of monies. So states are receiving $500 billion. Local governments receiving $375 billion under this bill. 250 of that, well, excuse me, let me go to counties here. 125 going to counties out of that 250 right away, 125 billion, and then another 62.5 billion the next year, in the next fiscal year. So this remains, if you remember back a few weeks back, this is still the same population threshold, not using the CDBG formula for counties. The cities, as you can see in this document, are using the CDBG formula. That was the agreement essentially struck across what's called the Big Seven, which are as the local and state government associations in Washington, D.C. Again, states are separate, local governments are separated, and then there's more monies for the territories, the tribes, and oversight and improvements to the CARES Act as well. It does give CARES Act to be going to lost revenue or revenue recovery, as we have been calling it. So So this is the basic points of what's in there. The other part of the HEROES Act that's very important that you should be aware of, about $80 billion for broadband funding within the HEROES Act. It does not have any direct infrastructure funding included in it. However, the amounts of money are so big that in many ways it's irrelevant on that conversation about infrastructure funding in terms of the money for some folks, for some operations, I should say. So that's just a basic quick. I'm going to pull up this file so you can see it. You all have this, but just briefly, again, this bill is not going to pass as is, but I want to give you a sense of the scale, and I'm just going to highlight here so you can see it. This is the amount of money Coconino County would get in the first year under this bill by the estimates that are provided by the House Majority Caucus. $53.7 million would come in what is our fiscal year 21 if this bill were adopted. In the second year, fiscal year 22, $26.8 million just to Coconino County. Just our county, does not include our local towns and municipalities. Again, this is a starting bill. The House is expected to vote on this on Friday. It is expected to pass. I would expect the vote to be closer to a party line vote, may have some moving around. But again, this bill will come through the House on Friday. It will go to the Senate. All indications are that it will take quite some time and be after the Memorial Day holiday before real negotiations begin in earnest with the Senate on that matter. So, Madam Chair, I will pause there and ask if there's any questions about the federal House, the HEROES Act from the U.S. House.
Thank you. Any questions for Eric on that proposed legislation? Okay, none at this time. Do you want to move on to the next item? Oh, hold on. It's, yes, Vice Chair Feller, go ahead.
Just get it approved.
Wouldn't that be great? That would be amazing.
That is my goal, Madam Chair. So
yes.
So I did want to go over briefly, and I'm going to use Robin Hilliard's email for you that you received this evening in relation to the governor's executive order, just to give you a sense of what the governor did today. And so this is in your email as well, but the new executive order that now will become effective is 2020-36. It's the Stay Healthy, Return Smarter, Return Stronger executive order. It replaces some executive orders in relation to business closures and makes some changes, which I will get to in a minute, but it still does the one primary thing that is keeping us in some ways in a tense relationship with the state, is that it preempts local control over decisions about public health emergencies and the right way to reopen, to use the term, our local and regional economies. So there is guidance issued that you will see here, gyms, pools, spas, fitnesses, places, lots of guidance, and I know this has been delivered to our partners, but essentially starting tomorrow, gyms, fitness providers, spas, and are all going to be able to reopen. Major league sporting events will continue without fans. There are guidances for doing that that are coming from the state. But again, local control is preempted. To boil it down, there is, from my estimation, very little that is still not closed by executive orders under the declarations of the emergency. But the governor, again, has preempted any decisions to make any local closures under our powers. So I don't want to be a lawyer, that's Rose's job, but to give you a sense of what we are seeing in the executive orders. The governor, the conversation with the press today, in my opinion, was a bit combative, and he was suffering no fools, and from his perspective, on questions about enforcement as restaurants opened last night. And of course, there are many images of social distancing and physical distancing not happening. Luckily, we did not see that in our area here, but down in the valley, certainly many. So I'll pull this down, Madam Chair. You all have this in your email as well, and just pause if for any questions on the governor's executive order coming out later today, or late today, excuse me.
Sure, thanks, Eric. So And there's guidance attached with each of those? So places of worship, I mean, et cetera, pools, I mean, maximum occupancy, things like that, or?
Well, there is, I don't want to speak preemptively. I know there is guidance attached. I don't know if the governor has said an enforceable number or if it's considered guidance. That was probably one of the most tense pieces of the press conference. Was the governor was really pushed about who is enforcing these issues, as the pictures of many people in spaces and such, and he just replied with they take care of it. They take care of it. He would not become specific. He would not name if law enforcement was to do so and such. So I have to look at all the guidance, but I know we are taking state guidance and then working with the county here to offer a branded version of that guidance to make sure our industry partners have it.
Okay, thank you. Other questions of Eric? All right, well, it'll be, oh, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Supervisor Feller.
So Eric, I can only assume that the governor, with his blanket decisions, does not recognize our numbers, what we are going through.
Well, so Madam Vice Chair, board members, I won't presume to speak for the governor. What I heard the governor say, and what I think many who watch the press conference will say, is we see the number of positive cases rising. That's a trend that even the governor's spreadsheet or chart at the presentation shows. But the governor is using an index of the percentage of positive cases. So he is making the argument that as we do more testing, the volume of testing increases, but the percent positive is declining, even though there's an actual number in the number of cases that is increasing with that testing. So that is his metric he is relying on, and the governor is using that to say he has justified meeting the White House marks for a reopening of the economy.
Madam Chair, I have a follow-up, if I may.
Of course, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
So I understand the governor has excused his health advisors, a team, and who is then his advisor then, that where we are, I would think that if he still had his team in order, then he would realize what our numbers are here.
Madam Vice Chair, I couldn't tell you who the governor's inner circle on health is. Dr. Christ is still there, but it is, I don't believe that a regional number is of concern. I think the governor is acting in a statewide manner. He's under incredible pressure from the right that reopening should happen and it should open faster. And that I just simply believe that there's a decision being made for a statewide impact and a statewide reopening. We obviously, I passed along an advocacy piece that there are interest groups, the retailers and other groups, petroleum marketers, I believe, all encouraging him to make sure that local control was not restored over these decisions so that there would be one uniform statewide policy. And I pass that along to you. I honestly believe, I think the governor is trying to keep a statewide standard. I'm not saying that that's right nor right for us, but if I had to paraphrase what I hear from the governor, I believe that's what he's doing.
And yes, that would make sense. But there would be at least communication with counties where the numbers are not in tune with his numbers. I don't believe that he has given us a call. I don't think he has communicated with us in any way, nor has the Arizona Health Department director or any of the teams. I know we have a phone call every once in a while, but if we're having phone calls and they're not hearing us, then I just don't think that the communication is flowing both ways. So I just want to make that comment because we have, at least we had, the general did come and we are working with him, and I would assume that he is communicating the need that is in our county, I just want to make sure that the governor does see and is aware of what we're going through and possibly be able to step in to be able to help our needs here in our county. And that he realizes that one plan does not fit all. And so I just want to make those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Just briefly, I'm not aware of any direct conversation with the governor's office other than the calls that Ben has had with the supervisors over the course of some time, which of course are not happening now. I do know that the health department does speak with the health officers somewhat regularly, and of course DEMA has the regular calls. But again, the question of the state bureaucracy and difference of the political machinations, if that message reaches the governor, who is ultimately retaining control over the situation, is unknown. CSA is drafting a letter from the executive committee to the governor to talk about CARES funding and unlocking that and releasing it. Craig had shared that with me just to look over and review for some concerns and making sure that we had everything codified. And I believe they're asking for a meeting as well to begin that conversation about funding. But again, I'm not aware of any other direct communications.
And thank you for you and your team's work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Anything else, Eric?
I don't have anything else for this roundtable, ma'am.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see. County Manager Jane, you're on next. We're on item number 30.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to again say to thank you to the board for your engagement and deliberation on development of the 21 budget, and look forward to continuing the conversation at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Megan did set out to all of you at 8:30 this evening the presentation for tomorrow, along the budget materials and the plans that will be reviewed by staff tomorrow. There is an alliance meeting this Friday from 8 to 10 on MS Teams. That's being hosted by the city of Flagstaff. So we don't have to decide tonight, but I think Eric has been in touch with Madam Chair with Teresa, but we'll figure out over the next few days, making sure who is the board representative. If you are not able to attend and participate on Friday at 8, that we'll have the appropriate board member there for that conversation. And it's a standard agenda for the alliance meeting on Friday at 8. There was some information shared today regarding the Grand Canyon. I want to preface it by saying that the park is scheduled to put out a press release at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning with some official announcements, but we do know that they are scheduled to be open the 15th through the 18th. Each day, park gates will open from 6 to 10 a.m. After 10, they will not allow other cars in. Fees will not be collected, and no commercial services will be available. Only toilet facilities and water. They do hope to have some additional availability, accessibility to the park over Memorial Day weekend, but they're going to kind of look and see how the first two long weekends, I guess, transpire based on what we're being told before they make decisions about Memorial Day weekend. They are talking about a continued phased reopening, but don't have firm dates projected at this time. They do intend, at least at this point, to keep raft trips closed through, as of right now, they've said June 12th. And the North Rim, they're looking at potentially May 22nd, but again, no details have been finalized, nor details of what service and amenities will be offered, again, on the North Rim. Madam Chair, if I could go back just briefly for the discussion tomorrow. As we mentioned today, we will be talking about the library district budget, jail district, public health services district, flood control district, mechanical services, and secure rural schools, and the road funding that that is tied with that. So that'll be the agenda for tomorrow. And again, you received the information this evening. Earlier, Kim mentioned that we did have another roundtable conversation today with North Country Healthcare, FMC, Flag Shelter, and the county. It was a good discussion. I think it's a great example of community partnership and working together. We did agree to continue regular meetings. We do have one scheduled again on Monday. So, Madam Chair, if we can, I'd like to just turn just a couple minutes to Deputy County Manager Lucinda Andriani to offer a brief update as well. Thank you.
Good evening. Just quickly, because I know it's getting very late. We had our, the Social Services Safety Net Coalition has been having regular meetings, both of the individual sectors as well as the Leadership Council. And last Monday, we had our first full coalition meeting. I think we had over 30 to 40 participants. Great conversation. And back to the funding question, you know, ACF has somewhere between $6 and $10 million remaining in their fund. That's Arizona Community Foundation. And, you know, we're really trying to organize an effort to do a major ask both for the housing sector and for the food sector. So that's a big focus right now, is trying to get that organized and get that request for funding in to show the level of coordination and activity that's going on. And so I just wanted you to be aware of that. A lot of good, just good connection and sharing of resources and information. And I do think, as Kim mentioned earlier, I think there's an opportunity for us, as far as we're aware to date. The Flagstaff Shelter Services has not received any state funding. And I don't believe that Flagstaff Family Food Center has as well. So we need to be advocating for those funds to get released as soon as possible. So anyway, just wanted to share that quick update. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucinda. Thank you very much, Jimmy. We were going to go on to now number 31. This is a roundtable. And so board members are welcome to share anything that they would like to share. And if you do, not have anything to share at this particular time or wish to pass, you also can do that too. District 1, Supervisor Art Babbitt. You might be on mute. Okay, let's go to Supervisor Parks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have much to report, just that we will be going to, or I have Gilbert Chi going to Cutsmovie tomorrow to deliver a load of food and supplies to Hopi for all the villages up there. Also, on the governor's order to reopen some businesses, I've had two folks from Donny Park, Joshua Ware and another one that didn't want to be identified, that wanted me to let you all know that they support the governor's opening of the gyms and pools and sporting events that's supposed to occur starting tomorrow. And they wanted me to specifically let you know that. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Parks. Supervisor Fowler, how about you next?
I am reading the Arizona Daily Sun, and I think we need to run a correction to their stories. So anyway, I just appreciate all the reports that we have received today. And I think that the Flagstaff shelter need to understand what we are doing and what we have offered to them before. And they have finally took the, are moving their individuals to the hotel where we are housing these individuals. Every time I read a story about them, they don't seem to understand that we have had this offer there before, and they don't seem to understand that we are part of the partner that they're working with. But I continue to work with the self-employed and the small micro business and small business. And so we have been, I'm trying to see how, I'm really troubled by the fact that the major banks have done their part in their minds and now have been in the congressional dollars that have been approved completely missed the businesses in our community. We're not a community where there's large businesses or large employers. So people are creative. They create their own way of providing for their families. And that's the environment that we live in. And so it's really troublesome that there's these major small business dollars that come through. And if you don't have an organization that applies for it outside of a bank, then you really miss out on it, on those benefits. In addition to that, you are a self-employed, you're dependent on yourself, and now you have to apply for unemployment, and yet unemployment denies you, and you're trying to figure out where you are, and you're caught in between everything. I really appreciate our staff trying to reach out to these individuals, and I appreciate Congressman O'Halloran for listening to the individuals that we've been organizing meetings with and really trying to see how can they get help. And these are the people that really run our economy in these rural counties. And so that's where the attention has been. And then the hospital, these small hospitals that are, that were just really surprised by this event. The limited staff, limited in their expertise, and they really had to take this on. And really figure out how they're going to do it. They had to reorganize, they had to redo their budgets, they had to redo everything. And now, they're just, they're totally, they're in the same situation we're in. Some of the hospitals have reduced their staff or else put them on a reduced hours. And so I think Congress really needs to understand that. Where is that help, and how do we as county supervisors advocate on their behalf and bring awareness to their needs? And so I think it's just a lot of work, but we need these organizations, these professionals in our community to move forward. So I continue to really pay attention and try to convene meetings where they can seek help and bring resources to them. So anyway, I thank you all, and I know you're all working so hard and just really with your passion and really living just I think we're, as a county family, you know, how families go out and they do what they need to do to benefit the core of the family, and as a unit you move on. And that's the way I see ourselves. So I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Fowler. And Supervisor Babbitt said that he's good. So he will pass right now. And for District 2, I will pass, but just as the chair, I will just I just want to say I wanted to thank the Flagstaff City Council and Mayor Evans for their consideration tonight. What was discussed tonight was a $164,000 allocation to Coconino County for our emergency services to prevent eviction, and so for rental assistance. And then out of their general fund, they are considering $59,000. And so that would be absolutely wonderful. That's out of their CDBG dollars, the $164,000. And I did represent the county today at their Flagstaff City Council meeting, as well as Michelle Axlin and Lucinda Andriani were there to be able to provide any technical assistance or ask questions. And they didn't have any questions. I was there to the very to the end of the item, the agenda item, and so it looks like, I mean, this is of course discussion and consideration, but they did give direction to staff to proceed with the allocations that were recommended by staff, and the allocation to the county for Flagstaff City residents to assist with eviction prevention were recommended by staff. So that's great news. Other than that, just thank you all for great, productive, busy couple of days, and we'll see you tomorrow morning for our budget hearings. Everyone's welcome to join us tomorrow as well. We'll see you at 9 a.m. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.